Hey guys, welcome back to Masters of the Cinematic Universe. I'm Joe, and with me today, as always, are Eric and Doug, and we are about to talk some awesome movies. What's
Yes,
up, guys?
indeed, we are, my friends. How you doing? How's everybody?
Fucking great, man.
What's new?
I don't even know, man. We had a storm this week. Doug, you had a storm too?
Yeah, it was a little nutty up here with the New England nor'easter. Kicked our butts.
Now, Eric, you're not far from me. Did you guys have that crazy storm too that came through a couple days ago?
No, I didn't see any of that weather. The only storm I experienced lately was just a shitstorm of, Alright, you're gonna laugh at me and you're gonna call this midlife crisis, and that's fine. I've been skateboarding, right? I'm in my mid-30s, so it's make of that what you will. I did what's referred to as taking a hipper, which is just slamming hip down into the asphalt.
Yeah, it
like
sucks.
like fucking parallel with the ground. It is the worst skateboarding injury I've ever had. Like, I thought I broke my hip.
Oh, wow.
And the first couple of days I couldn't really get around, or like I couldn't get up and down out of a seated position. Like, it was fucking really bad. It still hurts. It's getting better. So I bet against it being broken. Like, I didn't go get an x-ray or anything like that. But I've been dealing with that and just feeling my mortality,
It's crazy
that's
because,
not
like,
good.
when you're young, you can, like, fall off, like, a 14-stair staircase and, like, roll on the ground and, like, get right up and just do it
Yep.
again.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Now,
Just
like,
don't
I
feel the
was
same.
walking to the bathroom the other day and I turned wrong and my knee popped and I thought I was going to die.
That happened to my knee. My knee's been fucked up for like 3 months, and people ask me like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
I fucked mine up playing football. I was, like, going up for a pass one day and, like, I came down and I heard it pop right when I hit the ground.
Ugh.
And it swelled up to the size of, like a giant grapefruit. And now this has been like 9 years, and it's still the same every day. It's always bruised, it's always swollen.
Oh man.
And every once in a while, I'll turn the wrong way, and I'll hear a pop, and it'll get really bad.
Fucking A. So when are we
Yeah,
going
that sucks.
skateboarding?
I want
That's
film.
really the biggest worry is my knee is going to give out on me while I'm skating.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have to wear those like compression braces on my knees when I skate now.
I might need to do that.
Yeah, they're pretty
I don't know if
good.
it's like a what's it called, that tendon that's in the front of your knee?
Oh yeah, that one.
the meniscus.
Meniscus, yeah. I think it's my
Yeah.
meniscus that popped.
That's what popped on mine way back in the day, and it still fucking hurts.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
sore as hell all the time.
Yeah.
Doug, anything going on in your world up there?
Yeah. It was a good day today. I actually got to celebrate Thanksgiving 2 weeks late. we were all set Thanksgiving Day to go up to my daughter. She was going to make her first turkey for us, and
Nice.
the day before, my son was told by his job's HR that someone in his office had COVID. So we had to wait. We couldn't go. So we had to get tested. So the test finally came back negative, which was good for all of us. And we headed up to my daughter's today, and she made a turkey, and it was delicious. And that was our Thanksgiving. So 2 weeks late, but it was good. It was a good day.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I built a bunch of guitar pedals this weekend.
Nice.
I almost made around 15 or 16 pedals this weekend.
That is a lot
Oh,
of
that's
pedals.
great.
Yeah.
I know we do plugs at the end of the show, but if someone wanted to purchase one of these pedals, where would they go?
It's a 37. that's
There
Doug's.
too, but yeah.
No, mine is Like My Pedals, which you can take that however you want to take it, but you can like my pedals. They can be they're just like my pedals, or they can be the actual definition, which I may give you guys one day down the road.
Very good. So today we're here to talk about a film that I was just talking skateboarding. This movie inspired me to learn how to skateboard when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
Any guesses?
Spaceman from Pluto.
Close. Close.
Shit, I thought that's what it was called.
Joe coming in with the deep cuts always, man. And
I guess that was just a joke, though.
it was a good one though.
Yeah.
So we're talking Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back to the Future.
How the hell is that even like a remotely decent name? I just got to get this trivia out of the way. For some reason, the Universal Pictures head, Sig Sheinberg, didn't like the name Back to the Future because he said nobody would watch a movie with the name Future in it.
Right.
So this is a movie about time travel, and he wanted to call it Spaceman from Pluto.
Spaceman from Pluto.
Yeah.
And he was dead serious with this, but Steven Spielberg kind of like, instead of calling him on his shit and saying, hey, that's a terrible fucking name that no one will ever want to watch, he's like, oh, that was a good joke. We all had a good laugh at that in our meeting. Kind of gave him an out.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a great way to castrate that guy. It's just like, oh, yeah. I'm glad you liked it. But Back to the Future.
Yeah.
1980... When this movie came out? 85.
85, July 3rd.
I mean, it should be pretty obvious during this movie that this is 1985.
It was almost too obvious. Like I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, 1985, year of my birth, man. Meant to be that I would enjoy this flick. So we're just going to dive right in. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
We're going to go back in time. All right.
We got to go back to the future.
Future.
That was an okay Christopher Lloyd. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. I looked right at the camera and pointed as I said it, too.
It's important that you do that. God, I love that moment. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So I have a lot of notes for like the first quarter of this movie, and then
I
they
hope
just
like you
trail
have
off.
like one page of notes that just has clocks.
Yeah,
more
I know.
clocks.
That's what I have.
I have a note that says clocks being 25 minutes slow is a shitty experiment.
Yeah. What I also have a note was that when you first see Michael J. Fox walk in the room, he has a digital watch on his arm. The doctor changed that watch too. That clock.
Yes,
also.
exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Marty's character. He doesn't pay attention a lot.
Yeah.
And isn't that watch more calculator than watch anyway?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so our movie begins. We open in the home laboratory of Dr. Emmett Brown. And like every 80s movie, we begin with a Rube Goldberg machine. I believe it was contractually obligated. If you wrote a movie in the 80s, it had to feature a Rube Goldberg machine of some kind. So we see the machine sort of word of life and all these clocks everywhere. Clocks crazy. There's an Easter egg in one of the clocks, which I'm sure Joe is going to illuminate for us.
I got
it.
it
had a man hanging off the clock.
Yes.
And what is that an homage to?
Well, I mean, it's more of a well, I guess it would be an homage if you think that it happened 30 years previously.
No.
Even though it happens later.
It's actually a nod to a 1923 silent movie called Safety Last with Harold Lloyd that that Zemeckis was a fan of.
I was thinking it was an homage to 1955.
Well, yes, that too. Yes,
That too.
definitely.
That too.
There's a dock on my clock.
Definitely. So it's a tie-in to that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was also a Denver Broncos clock in there,
Yeah, I saw it.
which makes no sense because they're in California.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody knows that canonically, Doc Brown is a Denver Broncos fan.
If you don't know that, we might as well just stop now, Joe.
Yeah,
Come on.
that's one of the most important character traits. All right.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is interesting that way, that it does tease something that happens later in the film, and it's also an homage to an older film. It sets the tone for this movie, because the thing about this movie is that no one says anything that's not important to the plot later. And
Correct.
And visually too. There's no throwaway moments. Everything plants a seed for something later. And that's that's the first instance of that.
Yeah.
So, front door opens, and the coolest kid from the 80s walks in. Michael J. Fox.
Just
Marty
got
McFly.
off the boat with that lifesaver on.
Yes. He's walking into this fucking place like he owns it, which is weird. And he's calling for somebody named Doc.
Right.
Sees a dog named Einstein, comments on how messy the place is, obviously sees that the Rube Goldberg machine has been dumping wet dog food into the bowl for a few days on
Einstein
end.
wasn't there, was he?
Oh, that's right. Einstein wasn't there.
He
Because
wasn't
Einstein
there,
was doing
but
that.
I
I'm
think his
assuming that-
his bowl said Einstein.
Yeah, that
So-
giant slop pile of dog food.
I
would be
know.
there.
You get the next little tease when Marty puts his skateboard down and it hits a box labeled plutonium.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, the reason you find out that Marty's there at all, other than looking for Doc and Einstein, is he wants to rock out before school with the weirdest, dumbest guitar I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a
The
strange one.
smallest guitar. I think they used the smallest guitar to make the amp look even bigger,
Yeah.
Into the biggest amp I've ever seen.
which
Yep.
would, music-wise, it wouldn't work.
No.
Like, a speaker that big would just sound like farts.
I know.
Well, that's why I was excited to talk this movie with you guys, because you're both guitarists.
Yeah.
So there's a few scenes in this movie that are very musical, and I want to get your perspective, because I know when I watched certain things in this movie, I was like, wait a minute, like, even practically, like this moment where he cranks, real dramatically cranks all the knobs up to max, and the gain gets louder and louder, and then after all that's done, he picks up the cable and plugs it into the guitar. And right off the bat, I was like, I'm always anticipating that terrible noise.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's
It
going
makes
to blow
me
the
cringe,
speaker out.
but it didn't happen, and it should have.
Was
like,
he still
shook
in
the paint
standby
off the
mode
walls.
at that point, or had he already like flipped the standby off?
No, I think he was ready to go because the next it
There
cuts
was
right
an
to
Easter
him
egg
with
on the amp
pick.
too.
Yes. Oh, good. You saw that, right, Joe? Go ahead.
Yeah. The my mind just went blank. The guy, this is his name from Clockwork Orange and
Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. My mind like
Yeah.
went completely blank there.
Him.
Um,
That guy.
The CRM 114
Mhm.
was kind of a nod to him.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun little nerd
Yeah.
Easter eggs in this movie.
It
And
was
the input plate was a Gibson input plate.
Right. But yeah, the nod to Kubrick was Doctor Strangelove, which we've mentioned previously. There was a piece of radio equipment that was labeled CRM 114, and again,
Yeah.
Zemeckis is a huge Kubrick fan, so he put that on there. It's just
Which
a
now
little
we've
quick nod
mentioned
to it.
Doctor Strangelove in 3 straight episodes.
I know, it's great, right? That means
At
we got to
some point,
do it.
we're gonna have to
eventually.
do
We
it,
have to
yeah.
do that movie at
Oh, it's
some
definitely
point.
worth it. It's an amazing movie, so that goes on the list definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so Marty then produces a metal guitar pick.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, just metal tipped.
Metal
like,
tip, yeah.
'cause the rest of
Plastic
it looked
back.
like dull,
Yeah.
and then it was like super shiny.
Yeah, which,
Yep.
why would you, why?
Yeah.
But it looked cool, and like the light glistened off of it. It was kind of
Yep.
badass,
It's definitely form over function at this point.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So he lets loose on this thing like Pete Townsend, and the amplifier explodes and throws him into a bookshelf. His reaction to this is, and I quote, "Whoa, rock and roll," which like that's the coolest thing you could say after
Yes, definitely.
destroying your elderly friend's
Yep.
musical
Yeah.
equipment.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, that lab wasn't looking very good anyways.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
So phone
Well,
rings in the laboratory. Marty picks it up, and it's Doc. Doc wants Marty to meet him that night at the Twin Pines Mall at 1:15 in the morning. And it also gives him a kind of throwaway warning, like, don't plug into the amp. There's a slight possibility of overload.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
What is it? Is that what he says?
Yep. I'll keep that in mind. Also, we find out in this moment that Doc has been experimenting with all of his clocks. So even though Marty thinks that he has time to get to school, all the clocks are 25 minutes slow, which was an experiment of Doc's, which to me, I have a note here that says setting all your clocks back 25 minutes is a shitty experiment.
Yeah.
Well, he sort of references not specifically that, but the fact that most or almost all of his experiments don't work.
Yeah.
It's later in the movie, so
You know what? I picked up on that too, and that becomes really important right before they're about to get run over by the car.
yes, exactly. So, and then just I did find something interesting because there's been a question since the movie came out about how Marty and Doc connected.
Yes.
Like, because in 1985 it might not have been as potentially what we call creepy as it might be today,
Yeah.
but apparently, so in 2011, Bob Gale got that question all the time. And in 2011, he just came out and said, listen, the backstory that we created for them is that Marty snuck into Doc's lab one day and was completely enamored with all the crazy Rube Goldberg and all the other experiments he was doing. And Doc Brown was impressed with that. So he basically gave him a part-time job. And Marty would clean up and help and, feed Einstein. And that's how they became friends. Because
And then put the lotion on its skin.
well, that too, but that's the fourth movie. That's when that comes out. So it was like that, and they looked at each other sort of as the black sheep. They had that same stigma attached to them in the sense that they were outcasts, and that's how they connected apparently. And Bob Gale he let that out in an interview with the website. So
That's super interesting, man.
Yeah.
I always had this headcanon. It's kind of similar, but you fill in those gaps as like a fan of something.
yeah,
And they heavily insinuate in this movie that Doc Brown burned his mansion down to collect the insurance money.
right. That's true because you see the newspaper clipping in the opening montage before Marty walks in. And
Yeah.
it's actually dated 1962 when the Brown estate burns down, and then he sold the property. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
And
which
so,
that
yeah,
mansion is pretty freaking baller.
It is pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It is pretty
and it's
cool.
actually a museum in Pasadena now.
Oh, no.
Really?
Yeah, you can go there and visit it.
Oh, that's
man,
cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Um,
All right, road
But what's
trip,
really
guys.
odd is, and this is a question I had later in the movie, but that garage that he's in is part of that property because it's the same garage when they go back in time when you see the front of it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So yeah, there's some splaining to do. I
Yeah.
guess that we're never gonna get the answer to.
Yeah, I'll bring that question up when the time comes, but it's the same garage clearly that he's in at
Yeah.
that point.
That's just
Yep.
some movie magic right there, man.
Yeah.
So
yep.
in my head, I always imagine like Doc, lighting the house on fire with the gasoline, and he's such a klutz that he traps himself inside. And this kid skateboarding to school sees this fire and rescues his old man.
Okay.
I've made
All
up
right.
this whole story in my head. It's all bullshit, but
No, but
it
that's
seemed
cool.
plausible. Yeah.
I like that. I do like that.
All right, so Marty runs off. He's got to get to school. He's going to be late. You get your Huey Lewis, Power of Love.
Yeah, wait, wasn't that Ray Parker Jr.? Oh crap! No, this is Huey Lewis.
Don't mention that name.
And this is kind of the moment that made me want to skateboard as a kid. He's just like effortlessly gliding through his town, waving at the girls in the window, hanging on the back of pickup trucks and shit. Like he looks so cool.
And my note as an old man was Marty's a juvenile delinquent and a horn dog.
You shake your fist at this kid.
Exactly. I'm like, you
Well, I
little
mean,
shit.
he's a product of his environment. If you look at the sign, it's like a orgy American style is playing.
I know. It's great.
And he's also doing, some of that skating himself. Michael J. Fox, he was coached pretty well on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, he
was it-
was. It was good, yeah.
What the guy's name? Weller or something?
Something like that, yeah. And actually, didn't Tony Hawk do some stuff in this movie too?
No, that was the myth was that it was Tony Hawk, but it was actually this guy like Pingnor Weller or something. It was
Okay.
he's like a guy from a Norwegian type country or something was over here like doing a competition.
Norwegian type country. My wife would kick your ass right now.
Well, I mean they're all the same.
Oh,
bunch
all right.
of white people in
Dude,
the snow.
you're gonna get a Viking shield maiden knocking at your door in about 15 minutes, buddy. All right.
It's a bunch of white people covered in snow.
I think you're right, Joe. Not about that, but about the skateboarder.
Yeah,
And,
his name's like Wellner or something like that, or Wellard, or
I want to say he had something to do with that Madrid skateboard that was used. Like it was his design or something that was on that board. That
Well,
splatter.
I think
design.
Zemeckis went down to a local skate park that they were having a competition and saw him skating there, and then asked him to come back and basically work on the movie as part of like the crew, like to give instruction and professional direction.
Gotcha. Okay. Also, he's doing this skateboarding with his backpack slung on one shoulder, which to me is super impressive. Because I can't even walk with a backpack on one
Yeah,
shoulder.
that's true. off balance. That is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that and also that road is probably rough and rocky, and he's like just effortlessly gliding over that thing. I don't know if you've ever
Exactly.
skateboarded, Doug, but if you get
I
one
have.
pebble in front of your wheel, you're falling.
Oh, you know, it's awful. That's why I didn't skateboard. I did it until that happened, and then I said, "Nah, it's all right."
And road rash is the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, Marty's
No,
got
but I
this
was-
big 60mm wheels. He's gliding.
Oh
in.
yeah, yeah, that's true. No, I was a big rollerblader, so I get it. I totally get what you're talking about.
Sorry, I'm not going to say nothing. I don't want to be.
All right.
too
No, I played
insensitive.
roller hockey.
Yeah,
Whatever.
don't pick on Doug, man.
All right.
How dare you? Doug's your elder.
I said I wasn't going to say anything.
All right.
about
Proceed.
the boots or the fruits.
Oh.
As a
All right.
skateboarder, you grow up hating rollerbladers.
Oh, see,
They're
no,
like
but
the bane of our existence.
we go back further to Friday nights at the roller rink when I was in high school, when there were 4 wheels on each
Four wheels is okay.
foot. you
Well,
know?
they had 4 wheels too. They were just in line, and
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. But
and
anyway,
they always wore like the
Potato skates, man.
stupid as Jenko pants and stuff.
no, I didn't. I told you it was roller hockey. It was totally different. We would have beat the shit out of those guys.
Yeah. I-
All right, proceed.
All right, so we get to high school. Marty's girlfriend Jennifer stops him, says, "You can't go in this way, because if you go in this way, Strickland's going to see you, and you can't be late again. You know,
Yep.
you've been late too many times." Jennifer Parker, the girlfriend, is this is Claudia Wells,
Yes.
yeah.
and she's replaced in the second movie. But for part
Do you know
one,
why?
at least, this is your Jennifer. I do. It's kind of sad, man.
Yeah,
Isn't
it
she
is.
replaced
It
at
is.
the end of this movie, like in the final scene? Isn't she replaced? Or is
No.
that-
No, but they reshoot the final
They-
scene for
right.
the beginning of the second movie
Exactly.
with the new actor.
Okay, that's I knew it was something weird like that.
Yeah. No, she was invited back for the second movie, but her mother was sick, and she opted to,
yeah,
care
she took
for
care
her.
of her mom. Yeah. Yep. She's still very attached, and she does a lot of the cons and charity events, and you know she teams up with Bob Gale and Zemeckis and stuff for charity stuff. So, you know, she's part of that family still to this day, which I think is really cool of them, and it's good for her. You know.
I heard something also was about because she was way taller, or who was it that was way taller?
Everybody was way taller than them.
Well, no, they had another original Jennifer that when Eric Stoltz was still in the movie.
Really?
That played. Yeah, and she had to be replaced with her because the other girl would have been way taller than Michael J. Fox.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
There's been 3 Jennifers basically.
Yeah.
All right, so despite sneaking around to get into the school, Strickland, he's on to him, and he
Hey, but
stops Marty in the hallway.
I'm sorry to. You want a quick piece of trivia about that school?
Oh, yeah, hit me.
It's Whittier High School in Whittier, California.
Yeah.
And Richard Nixon went there.
Yep.
That's his alma mater. So
Old
that
Tricky
was pretty
Dick
cool.
himself.
Yeah, exactly. So
And he's in a show about time travel too.
what?
I'm sorry?
Oh,
Richard Nixon is
Yeah,
a very
he
key
is.
character in a show about time travel.
at least his head is.
Yep. Head in a jar. I am not a crook.
All right, Eric, I'm sorry I sidetracked Joe.
No.
Oh, and in
guys.
that show about time travel, they do the nasty and the pasty also.
Yeah.
No, interject with any Futurama references you feel are necessary. It's
So, should we? Because I don't know where this is naturally going to come up, but should we make mention that this entire movie was filmed pretty much twice?
Oh yeah, let's get into it, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, 6 weeks of shooting.
yeah, which is pretty much unheard of. I mean, they were I want to say, like Joe was right, they were close to halfway done with this
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
And Marty McFly was played by an actor named Eric Stoltz, and it just wasn't meshing, man. Like, it just wasn't what they envisioned for the character or for the movie. He took it really seriously, took the character in a serious direction.
Yeah, he didn't have the comedy chops for it.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, the man's no Michael J. Fox, okay?
Also, I heard Biff was getting pretty mad, like that he was being
Oh,
way
yeah.
too rough.
Yep.
I have heard this story. Yeah.
Thomas Wilson, is that?
Yep,
Thomas
Yeah.
Thomas
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Who, I
Yeah.
know
He
you
wanted
had
to
a
hurt him.
Story about him. Yeah, he said the scene where he actually was gonna at the dance, he was going to actually beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, he was going to get a couple of swings back because he almost dislocated his shoulder, or he did dislocate his shoulder. Eric Stoltz
Yeah.
did.
Oof.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Eric Stoltz was like really method, you know. As
Yes.
far as actors go.
Yeah.
I did hear that.
And yeah, he just, that scene where they confront each other in the cafeteria, it shoves him hard, back.
Yep.
And they did a couple of takes, and it was really goddamn hard. And Tom Wilson tells him, hey, he's a professional. You're shoving me really hard, man. And Eric still says, okay. And they do the next take and shoves him twice as hard.
Yeah.
And
I
in
heard,
that moment, Tom Wilson decided, I think I'm going to fuck this kid up.
Yep.
Another rumor, which I don't know if it was actually ever confirmed or not, but when he was let go from the movie, he was telling them they came to him and said Eric, and he goes, no, it's Marty, because he was staying in character, and then
boy.
Spielberg goes, no, it's Eric, you're fired.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Oh, shit.
That's the story I heard as one of the
Yeah.
rumors. I don't know if it was actually true or not, but I want to think it was because it's pretty funny.
Yep.
That's tough stuff, man.
Yeah.
And there are apparently or allegedly a couple of scenes where he's actually still in that movie.
Oh yeah. The scene where Biff gets punched in the face.
In the soda shop. Yep.
Yeah, the where you see the fist hitting him in the face is actually Stoltz's fist.
Right.
Oh, shit.
And then also when he dives into the DeLorean in the parking lot, that's Stoltz also.
And he's driving when the DeLorean's he's trying to get away from the Libyans. That's also him. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wonder if they have to cut Eric Stoltz a $10 check for the fist scene and then try.
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I
Who
mean?
knows? Who knows?
All right, so I'll try to get through the next few parts a little bit quicker because we have a lot of movie to get through.
Yeah, that's true.
But basically, Strickland confronts Marty and tells him he's never going to amount to anything, just like his old man.
Yep.
Strickland's neck wrinkle old age makeup is very unsettling. Just
Yeah.
sidebar.
So is Doc Jones in the close-ups. I mean, Doc Brown. Sorry, his neck stuff is a little weird too, especially in HD.
Yeah, they
You
went
can really
real
see it.
like
I agree. Yeah.
ball sacky on the
But-
on the neck
Yes.
there.
But
Yeah.
but I think the person who got it the worst was Leah Thompson.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
did make her
They
look
put her
bad.
through the ringer over the course
First
of the
time
trilogy,
around.
man.
Yeah.
All right,
But-
so we basically discern that Marty's an insecure kid.
Yep.
He's in a band. There's auditions coming up for the school dance. He has an audition tape that he's just too scared to send to the record label. And, despite his girlfriend supporting him, he's insecure about it. He doesn't think that he's good enough. And we see later in the movie that it's just a complete reflection of his father's insecurity.
Yes. But he's fighting. It's funny because schizophrenic's not the right word, but he's multiple personality, because in one breath he's acting like his dad, but in the other breath he's fighting it, saying,
Yeah.
things are going to change. I'm going to, look, it's just, it's interesting the way he played that, and I definitely dug it.
Yeah, he's hopeful. He sees that hot 4x4 and
Yes.
he's like, one day.
Exactly. Well, even when Strickland confronts him and calls him a slacker, just like your dad, his comment under his breath is, history's going to change.
Yep.
Which is, it's a setup for the rest of the movie, obviously, but, so the glimmers are there for him,
That's true. We also, in that moment, learned something about Marty's mother, which is that she would never, ever approve of him taking his girlfriend out to the lake.
Right.
Like, she's a major prude.
Yeah. She
You
would
know.
not be cool with women who make the move on men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of exposition here, which is good. This is one of those things in film school they talk about as a movie that does this really well. They give
Exactly.
you information in a way that's not, I don't want to say it's not obvious, because it is, but it's all purposeful.
Yeah. Definitely.
In the dialogue.
Yeah.
All
we
of that.
We skipped a big scene though,
Oh, we did skip a big scene.
because we went to the 4x4, but we didn't
The big
you know,
cameo.
the battle of the bands.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in the audition, and by the way, Marty can shred.
Yeah.
Well, whoever was actually playing.
Whoever
guitar.
was playing the guitar for Marty can shred. He's got
No.
this sweet Ibanez and
that Roadstar, yeah,
Yeah, man.
and that Gibson Victory bass.
I
Yeah.
saw you
That's
mention
a
the
sick
Gibson
bass.
Victory bass. I had to Google it, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's
Yeah,
cool.
that's a sick bass. I might get one of those.
That is so cool."
It just didn't look like any of the guys in that band could play, though, for like the actors. It was just, you'd think they could have got musicians as the background players, right? But
and if you're going to play like something that's loud and noisy, why are you playing Huey Lewis in the News?
I know. Yeah.
They kind of butchered that Huey Lewis in the News song.
Yeah.
Because it has these really nice pauses, and the way they played it, it all kind of bleeds all over itself. And
Well, I mean, they were
Yeah.
just playing too loud. They're just too loud.
too darn loud.
Too darn loud.
And
Which
the
is
fact that they
ironic.
butchered that song, you know, I don't blame this man for shitting all over him. So Huey Lewis himself is sitting in the judges panel
Yeah.
in one of the most apt cameos ever recorded, and just tells him to fuck off.
Yeah, basically.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
He says into a megaphone, which is also
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the
please.
irony.
Yeah.
The irony of the person who wrote the song they're fucking up, talking into a megaphone to say it's too loud.
So I'm glad you circled back to that, because that's another one of those moments where as musicians you do notice that the background players are not really doing anything. It's kind
No.
of just like, hey, hold this bass and rock back and forth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And also the band's trying out. I did a lot of these kind of battle of the bands sort of things like in high school. It seems ridiculous that every band has a full drum kit, like waiting in the wings to get set up on the stage.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long did it take them to set up that stage
weeks.
just to play for 12 seconds?
Right, the audition was 2 weeks.
All right, so we see the hot 4x4. We learn that Marty's mom is approved. All of this gets interrupted by a very zealous woman who wants to save the clock tower.
Yes.
So there's a big clock tower right in the middle of town square, and we find out some more beautifully laid exposition that this clock tower was struck by lightning in 1955, hasn't worked since, and she's trying to raise money to fix this thing.
Yeah.
So
that's
they had-
Elsa Raven is the actress, and she was a great character
Elsa Raven,
actress.
yeah. She
Yeah,
just
she was
passed
in
away
Titanic.
recently.
Yeah, she did fairly recently. She was in Titanic, Amityville Horror. There was an old CBS show called Wise Guy about an undercover cop or FBI guy who was in the mob, and she played his mom, his Italian mom. And so yeah, I always loved her.
And don't forget, we got to re-elect Mayor Goldie Wilson.
We do have to re-elect Mayor Goldie Wilson. Which, again, just so beautifully, like, you wouldn't even notice it the first time around.
Yep.
So they get handed this flyer, which has all of the information about the clock tower and the history and what happened. That becomes majorly important later in the film. But for now, it's important to Marty because he wants to get laid. And Jennifer writes her phone number where she's staying on the back.
Right, her grandmother's, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, her grandma says, and then a cute little "I love you" message.
Yep.
Right. Right.
Now Jennifer's dad comes to pick her up in the station wagon, which, for my money, is the second coolest car in this movie. Do you guys are you familiar with the make and model of this car?
No.
I'm
Isn't
not
it-
either.
Hold on, let me look at it because I got it up here on my screen. I feel like it's like like a Jeep wagon. Oh no, it's a Dodge Monaco wagon. It looks like.
Oh
Is it?
man.
It is so bad.
And
Maybe I
it's
just have
it's, like,
terrible taste in
jacked
cars.
up. It's like a mini wagon too.
That's great.
It's definitely a Chrysler K car, like in the Chrysler
Yeah.
K car family.
Yep.
But it looks like a Dodge Monaco maybe,
Yeah. That
I mean,
makes sense.
I would
or
drive
maybe
that
a
thing.
Duster.
Nah, Duster was gone by then.
No, they had Dusters in the '80s.
It did.
Yeah, they just weren't like what you would think.
Well,
There's
yeah,
a lot
I
of great
guess.
cars in this. Oh, there's a sick Nissan 300ZX sitting behind them when they're making out.
Oh, is there? I missed
I'm
that
just
one.
looking at all the cars in the background right now. There's a lot of cool freaking
Yeah, but that would have been a
cars.
280ZX. I don't think the 300 was around then either.
I think it might be. Well, it's actually probably a Datsun too. It's not even a Nissan. It's a
Yeah.
green one.
I should know
Oh,
this
nice.
stuff because I was around then, but I don't.
My dad had a Datsun. It sat in the garage when I was a kid. It didn't run.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's this movie or the next movie we were doing, but there was a sweet like a old Honda in it too.
Mm,
No, it's
Yeah,
this one because
that's-
when they're walking through the parking lot, it backs out. It's like an old Honda Civic or Honda Accord from the '80s.
oh, okay.
Oh yeah. It is. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's a little hatchback one.
All right, but I digress. It's
Yeah,
a
I'm
badass
sorry.
car.
I can-
Jennifer's dad has a sweet wagon, whatever it is. Much respect. So Marty makes his way home. He lives in a neighborhood called Lyons Estates.
Which, hold on, I got a bone to pick with Lyons Estates. That is the worst gate placement I've ever seen for
Yeah,
a neighborhood.
I know.
Like
They
it's like
slapped
they
that
have
up
these
for the
shitty
movie.
props, and they're like, "Where should we put these shitty props at? Should we
Yes.
just set them in the street? Why don't you put them on the fucking curb like every other neighborhood?"
I know. And
That's a fair point.
graffiti covered. It was,
Yep.
it was awful.
It does look, yeah, it's very beat down. You got these big, like, foam lion statues.
Yeah.
Like you literally couldn't fit two cars between it.
No, I know. I know.
Stupid. Like whoever designed this just did a shitty job,
Yeah.
and
So
they
we-
look really small. Like I feel like later in the movie they're gonna look way bigger
That's true. That's fair.
because I don't think you can hide a DeLorean behind that.
Well,
Well,
there
no,
was
he
a
hit it-
billboard.
they hit it
Or no,
behind
that
the
was the
billboard.
billboard. Okay,
Yeah.
that was the billboard. Oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
So we see Marty's house, and here we meet two characters, Marty's dad, George McFly, and Biff. Biff works with George, and he's just a real douchebag.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
Donald Biff.
So we get that dynamic. You know, he's still a bully, or I shouldn't say still because we haven't seen this yet, but he's a real bully to Marty's dad, and he's making
Yes.
he wrecks his car because he's drinking and driving, and it's somehow George's fault. It's just
Those
this terrible
lines.
dynamic.
You gave me a car with a blind spot in it. Well, Biff, there was no blind spot when we had it. What are you, blind, McFly? It's like such great lines.
I'm
And,
not gonna lie. Like that scene reminded me of the first presidential debate this year.
Yeah, that makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Like if Biden was like in his 30s or
Yeah,
early 40s,
exactly.
and then Trump was just yelling at him.
Yeah. So a couple of cool things. So I found out that Tim Robbins was in the running for Biff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thomas F. Wilson beat him out, but he was in the running for it. And that the character named Biff Tannen is based after a Universal executive named Ned Tannen,
Correct.
who Zemeckis and Gale just couldn't stand. They had run-ins with him all the time. So they named Biff after him.
That's
Yep.
amazing.
I did see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Wilson in the role of Biff is really pitch perfect.
Yeah,
And,
I
and,
agree.
and almost to Tom Wilson's detriment, because he's one of those actors who had a hard time separating
Yeah, he
from
did.
this role.
He did. He
And
had. You probably know this, but he eventually typed up a frequently asked questions
Yeah.
card
Yes,
that he would just
absolutely.
give out to fans because he was sick of answering the questions. You know,
Well,
poor guy.
Tom Wilson's a stand-up comedian, and my wife had seen him, a few years back with a friend of hers, and he had a policy at that time that he would not autograph anything related to the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
He just hated to be associated with it for a long,
Yep.
long time.
He's embraced it more now because money, as much
Yeah.
as anything
'Cause
with the
money.
cons and stuff. But he's eased off that policy, that personal policy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I had the opportunity to go to a MegaCon down here in Florida a few years ago, and this was a birthday gift from my wife. She got me a backstage pass to a reunion, a Back to the Future reunion. So I was front and center, and out comes Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Thomas Wilson, everybody. And it was amazing. I mean, I felt like a little kid.
Oh, I'll
But
bet.
when I met Tom Wilson, he had a podcast at the time, and it would just naturally came up. I said, "Hey, I listened to your podcast. I really enjoyed it. I think you're a really great storyteller." And his eyes lit up because I think I was the first person in maybe 3 hours to not ask him something about one of these movies.
Right, right.
And
That's
so
good.
he talked to me for like 20 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool. So
All right, so back to the house.
future.
We meet
Oh.
Biff and George. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Back
Right.
to the future. Biff and George. Biff gives Marty the greatest line in the movie. Say hi to your mom for me.
I know.
Yeah.
And
What are you looking
one
at,
thing,
butthead.
one thing I noticed is the glances between Biff and Marty. So Marty knows what's going on. Biff knows that Marty knows what's going on, but he also knows what's Marty going to do about it. But you can see that telling look like, yeah, I'm fucking your dad over, but, What is he going to do?
you
And what are
think
you
Biff
going to do
actually
about it?
banged Lorraine
What's
In
that?
this timeline,
in this timeline?
No,
it's very possible, but I don't. Maybe not.
no, I don't think so. Not in this timemeline. No.
Not necessarily by her choice.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that later. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not something I've thought a lot about. I thought more about, like, did Jabba the Hutt rape Princess Leia in Return of the Jedi? And the answer is for sure.
Yeah, that happened. That definitely happened.
Tanaka.
Oh God! I looked for pictures of that today.
Oh no.
Anyway, keep going.
All right, so
Move
we get
on.
some more exposition about Marty's family. We learn
Yeah.
about his uncle Jailbird Joey,
Yep.
his sister and his brother Dave. You know, they're kind of, Dave. I think he works at Burger King. You know, they're just a very
Yeah.
sad sack family. And his mom is a bit of an alcoholic. You know, there's no spark in his mother and father's relationship. It's very detached and lonely. And even as Lorraine is telling the story about how they fell in love and her father hit him with the car and he was so helpless, he's just like zoned out. Like,
Yeah, he's like watching
zoned out
TV
and
with the
watching-
weirdest fucking laugh ever.
Oh, I know exactly. But one thing I noticed, and it's funny, it didn't really come to light for me until watching it for the show, is the sadness in Lorraine's voice and her body language. I mean, you know, when she says the line, and it was then I knew we would be together forever. And you look at her,
Yeah.
and like the life just leaves her body.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a very dramatic moment in it, you know, a movie that has drama in it, but it's mostly a comedy. But it was hard to watch. I watched it again, and I saw her, and Leah Thompson did such a great job with that, because you could see the despair in her body and just voice and everything. It was hard, definitely.
Yeah, it was a really tragic kind of moment.
Yeah.
She was like just trapped in this marriage, and they cut back to this guy, you know, this aloof,
Yeah.
you know, it was really well done.
And all she had to drink was light beer.
I know.
Oh yeah. You know, I take umbrage with that scene because if you look closely, there's a couple of Bud regulars on the shelf.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
prop masters, do your job, man.
I know.
All right, so we do leave with the impression that they're all pretty unhappy with their lot in life.
Why doesn't
Mark-
Biff have his own car?
Why?
Yeah. Well, he probably wrecked his car. Who the hell knows? Because he's
I was wondering,
driving
how does Biff not have a car?
drunk and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure
he was drunk when he wrecked
Yeah.
George's car.
What I want to know is who's going to pay to get the beer out of my shirt.
No, I spilled beer on this jacket.
So Marty falls asleep. Remember, he has a date with Doc at 1:15 in the morning. So he gets a wake-up call and skateboards on a rain-slicked road, which, by the way, is how I almost broke my hip in the first place.
Okay.
With like a really expensive at the time camcorder dangling from his hand.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That right away I was pissed because I was like, fucking Marty, you know,
Yeah.
you got it all, man. You got an expensive camcorder. You can skateboard in the rain like a real champ. And I try to skateboard down a Winn-Dixie in the rain and I fucking blow my hip out like an old man. I digress. We meet finally, and I apologize for the mix-up. We meet Einstein the dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the
Who
Twin
was supposed
Pines
to be a chimp.
parking lot.
He was supposed to be a chimp.
He was supposed to
Yeah,
be a chimpanzee.
originally they were going to have
shit.
a chimp, and his name was going to be something else too.
Right. But Sid Sheinberg stepped in again. He nixed it. He goes, I looked it up. I did the research. There's never been a movie made with a chimp that's made money. And then Zemeckis brings up the Clint Eastwood movies, Any Which Way You Can and Every Which Way But Loose. He goes, yeah, but that was an orangutan, not a chimpanzee.
Oh my
I
god.
did see that too.
The
So they went with the dog.
Jesus. Well, you know what? While we're on the subject, just a quick side road, and I hate to keep doing this, but speaking of things that were gonna be and ended up not being, we're about to see the Time Machine for the first time.
Yeah.
And in the original draft of the script, the Time Machine was not a car at all.
Nope.
It was
a
a
refrigerator.
refrigerator.
Yeah.
Now, they love this refrigerator idea so much And in the original script, in order to generate the 1.22 gigawatts of needed electricity to get this thing back to 1985, they needed a nuclear explosion. So the idea was that Marty would be in the refrigerator in a atomic testing site, and when the bomb went off, that would propel him back into his time.
Yeah.
When this idea died, someone held on to it really deeply and
Steven
waited
Spielberg.
and
He
waited
didn't
and
let it
waited.
go.
Bum, ba-dum, bum,
Yes,
bum,
Steven
ba-dum,
Spielberg just fell in love with this idea so much that if you go back and watch the classic Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
Classic.
the
Take that
best
word
of the
back.
Indiana Jones movies,
Take
by the
that
way,
word back.
they basically did this sequence shot for
Yeah,
shot.
he did.
Where
Yep,
Indiana is in a test site, a bomb's about to go off, and he puts himself in a lead-lined refrigerator and flies through the air.
And
Best part of that whole
I bet
movie.
he wished he could go back in time and make the Indiana Jones
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or go back in time and ask for more money to be subjected to that.
There's a lot of regret involved with that movie, man. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the movie we get a much better time machine, which is the DMC DeLorean motor car.
Yep.
And man, it's badass.
Designed by John DeLorean,
Yeah.
who had a cocaine problem.
For
Just
my
a bit.
money, just a little bit. But maybe I don't know. For my money, it's the best car reveal in cinema. Like, it's just so epic.
Oh, I
man.
absolutely.
It's also
love it.
the most impossible car reveal in cinema.
This is true. There would be
Because
no way
how
for
the hell
Doc.
did he get in the car
Yeah.
inside the van?
Close the door. I know.
You're not supposed to think too deeply about that part.
What he should have been doing was standing like around the corner, like behind a tree, and then when Marty pulled up, opened the back and used the remote control to drive the car out.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
And
But-
did he have like a fog machine in the back of the van with it, or was that
I
like
know.
carbon monoxide? He was trying to kill himself.
it was almost a totally different movie before the kids showed up.
Almost
Like,
turned
this is
into
my
an
best
after-school
invention yet.
special.
I'm gonna end it all.
And how did he know Marty just then pulled in the parking lot? He couldn't see out of the van.
I know.
Don't spoil
But-
the magic for me.
It
Come on,
leads
Joe.
to it leads to a great transition. I think.
Yes, thank you, Doug.
Okay.
You and I are on the same wavelength,
Right
man.
when so that the car backs out, everybody in the audience, our jaws are dropped. This thing is amazing. This sleek, beautiful machine, and the gull wing opens up, and Doc Brown steps out, and he's the absolute opposite of this car.
Yeah.
He's just this bumbling, goofy doofus. We love him, but it's like the best juxtaposition. It's just another small point that reinforces how perfect this movie is.
And we
Yes.
almost didn't even have a DeLorean.
Right, exactly. We were
'Cause
that
they-
close.
They got money, or they had an offer from Ford to pay them $100,000 to use a Ford Mustang. But you know why they didn't put it in there?
Well,
Because
yeah, I mean, 'cause
Doc
Bob-
Brown doesn't drive a fucking Mustang.
right? That was Bob Gale's line. His
line.
response was, "Doc Brown doesn't drive a fucking Mustang." Yep.
Yeah, Doug, I could not agree with you more. I'm looking
Right?
at my notes, and it's literally DeLorean reveal, best car reveal in cinema, followed immediately by bumbling Doc like Disney's
Yeah.
Goofy getting out of the car. Like, it's
Exactly.
just the most perfect.
No.
He's gonna be, oh, no. The
Yeah,
movie
we're in
sounds-
sync, buddy. We're in sync because
Yeah.
it was so striking. But again,
Oh
it's
my
what
God.
makes this movie near perfect.
It's like a
Is that
precursor
those-
to a Goofy movie because Michael J. Fox looks just like Max.
Exactly, that's true. Oh, dude, I love that. We got to do that movie because I love that flick.
That's a
a good
great
one.
movie, man. Holy
Anyway,
shit.
but yeah,
All
it's
right,
just
so-
a cool. Again, it just reinforces that fact. Yeah. go
Yeah,
ahead.
just the visual gags and all that. So
Yep.
we get our first test of this time machine, and that's the dog, and he's gonna move the dog 1 minute forward into the future. Now,
Yeah.
we also learned in this moment that when the car hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit, which is a fantastic line from the movie.
Yes.
But also that Doc is willing to die for this experiment and
Yeah.
kill a child.
Yeah, because he's standing
Yeah.
right in the way. He's like,
I
"Don't
know.
move, Marty. Stand right here.
It's
we
okay,
can't
it's
like
gonna be
stand to the
fine."
side and observe this. We got to stand right in front of this car."
And
And
by
for
the
a
way,
guy
with the
who's-
exception of having slow clocks go off at the same time, none of this man's experiments have ever worked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, his supreme confidence in this moment is a
Yeah.
little.
Let's
a
hope
little
this works better
unwarranted.
than the amp.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, it actually works. The car disappears, and Marty's fucking flabbergasted. You know,
And their feet should be on fire, but that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, the fire's a little sketchy in this movie.
Yeah, I know, but that's all right.
And what I don't understand is, if he can get it up to 60-something miles an hour with the brake on, why
I
can't he
know,
get it to
right?
88 with the brake on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He had plenty of parking lot too to
And
not
the car
have to
only
do that.
needed to go like an extra 23 miles an hour to
I
get
know.
up to speed. Which the irony is, DeLoreans don't even go that fast.
Yes.
They had to like repaint all the speedometers because they only went up to 85.
Yeah.
Didn't they like re-engine this car for this movie? Like they put a Porsche
Yes, they had
engine
to.
in it or something?
Yeah, you
Something like
couldn't-
that, yeah.
They couldn't accomplish even just the
And,
driving stunts with it as it was.
No dogs were hurt during the filming of this. However, in this scene, you see where the dog is actually driving the car. That's a stuntman in a dog costume.
Oh,
that's
no way.
great.
And
That's
they
great.
actually have pictures of him sitting down. He's like ducked down below the dash, looking through the dash, and there's a little hole under the dog's mouth, and he's sitting in there with a dog costume driving the car to the parking lot.
the things you
That
do
might
for movie
be the
magic.
best thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got to watch it. It's like the best. The visuals on it are amazing.
Oh my god. So the test is a success. They did actually see some serious shit.
Yeah.
And you know, you get this explanation of how this time machine works and why it's constructed the way it is, and how the idea for time travel even came to be. He tells Marty the story of when he invented time travel and the flux capacitor. He was hanging a picture in his bathroom, slipped on some wet porcelain, hit his head, and when he came to, he had this vision for this device. And he's also having Marty film all of this because, you know, for prosperity, he wants to, you know, prove that he can do what he set out to do. When we get to the point where we discover that it was Doc who stole the plutonium to fuel the time machine from the Libyans who wanted him to build a bomb, the movie goes off the rails in a really fun way. And you hear a vehicle pull up, and Doc Brown's expression changes.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna misquote him, but it's basically like, you know, they found me.
They
I don't
found
know
me.
how, but they found
But
me.
they found me. Yep.
Yeah. And Marty's like, who? And he's like, it's the Libyans. Like,
Yes.
It's just fucking great.
Which is ironic. It's the Libyans, and they
Yeah.
after 9/11, they had to like re-edit this movie for any viewing to take the word terrorist out and the word living out.
Oh,
Oh, yeah?
So if you watch a newer version of this, like where it's on TV or anything, whenever they look at the paper, it won't say the word terrorist in the paper. They digitally edited it out, and they also won't verbally say it either.
But why?
I don't know.
That's silly. But yeah, no, I didn't know
And
that.
they made
that
the
tracks.
Libyans very Middle Eastern, even though Libya is in Africa.
Yeah, but they look Libyan. I've met a Libyan or two in my lifetime. They look Libyan.
Here, you
Working
get
at
mad
Kennedy
me for
Airport,
saying
you
all
meet
the
a lot of
Norwegians
people.
are the same.
Oh man.
Proceed.
So yeah, the Libyans, they gunned down poor Doc Brown
Yep.
with like an AK. Like he's down for the count. To which Marty exclaims, "Bastards!" And they
Yeah.
start gunning for Marty, this poor kid in a radiation suit. So what does he do? He hops into the car and tries to outrun him. Eventually, delivering the line, "Let's see if you bastards can do 90."
Right.
And
Which is
what's
just
really
like-
crazy is he's shooting an AK-47 at them. And the thing about the AK-47 was it was designed never to jam.
Never.
Like,
Yeah, I
it
know.
never jammed. It's like
And
the
it
most reliable
jammed.
gun there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, you can keep it in sand to pull it out and it'll
Yeah.
shoot.
Put it in the mud, like liquid mud, and pull it out, and it'll still fire.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
That's why, like, you see them all over the world being used by like all these crazy like third world country nations and stuff because they're like indestructible guns.
Third world
Oh,
countries,
man.
you know, like the whole Russian army too.
Well, I
But,
mean, did
you
you
know
ever
what?
see
I know-
Nicolas
I know
Cage
what
in
you're
Lord
saying.
of War?
I know what you're saying.
That's another
Yes.
great movie.
That is a good movie.
But that's actually a really interesting point because one of the things about this movie, so you have a gun that is not supposed to jam,
And it jams.
but it does in order for Marty to travel through time.
Right.
And why are they driving a Volkswagen bus?
It was
Because it had
it's
a
an odd
sunroof.
choice. Had a bazooka roof on it, yeah.
Bazooka roof. There
But I
you
mean,
go.
they had so many other choices of vehicles
No, I
they could have
know.
used.
Hey, look, they went to the movie lot rental, and that's what they got.
And how did they know he'd be in the parking lot of a mall at 1:15?
Because they're smart. They found
And
him.
Why did
You
they
don't
have
know
their
how.
headlights off
Don't know
until
how.
like they saw then turn them on? Why did they even turn them on? Why didn't they just leave them off?
I know. All right, come
And
on. We're
Why
attacking.
do they have them on later in the movie when they're driving there, but then they
All
turn
right.
them off when they get there? Just turn them on again.
All right, Joseph Plot Hole O'Rourke.
I've been called
But
worse.
to be fair, what my point was, some of these plot holes and some of these issues, there are theories, since this is a time travel movie, that even things that are inexplicable or things that are not supposed to happen
Right.
happen. It's the timeline preserving itself to prevent a paradox.
Yep.
So a gun that's not supposed to jam will jam in order to prevent a paradox.
Because it's already happened.
Right.
Yeah.
There are instances in this movie where the DeLorean will stall for no reason and start up again for no reason, and it all aligns perfectly with things happening the way they're supposed to. So if the car would have started when the character wanted it to, things would not have happened the way they were
100%.
supposed to.
Yep.
So it's an interesting theory, and we'll dive into that when it comes up. But
Or it
this
could
is
just be because DeLoreans are not reliable cars.
well, famously it's a hunk of shit car, but that does not stop me from, as a grown man, wanting one really,
Oh, I want
really
one
bad.
too, but they are
Exactly.
hunks of shit. And that was the only car I ever drove when I played Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
All right, so in an attempt to outrun these Libyans, Marty gets up to 88 miles per hour and travels back to 1955, which was the date that Doc programmed in when he was reminiscing on the day he invented time travel.
Yeah. Let's see if these bastards can do 90.
See if these bastards can do 90. They cannot.
Nope.
When he travels through time, he ends up in the same spot, but 30 years prior, and he's in Peabody's Farms.
Yeah, old man Peabody.
Old man Peabody. It's a
time.
hilarious scene. He's super confused. He runs over a scarecrow. The face scares him in the windshield, and he crashes
Which-
into the barn.
When he hits the scarecrow, it flies over the car.
And then somehow
And then
while he
lands on
crashes
the-
into the barn, his
And
car gets
lands on the
completely turned
car.
around.
But that's okay.
Yeah, he's also doing 90 miles an hour into a barn and stops immediately and doesn't die. So
And
No.
somehow he's facing the opposite direction when they come to the barn.
Very
yes,
true.
yes. But it was
spun
a
out.
great shot, man.
Exactly.
Because it
It was.
recreated that comic book cover so beautifully.
Yes.
And you know what the name of that comic book was?
That was Tales from Space, and that was a real comic book.
Yep. And you know what show was based on that comic book later down the road?
Ooh, Outer Limits.
Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, Tales from.
Oh, I
the Crypt.
see.
Similar
All right.
artwork and everything to the comic book for Tales from the Crypt, which actually was the
Well, you had-
inspiration.
Yeah, you had Tales from the Crypt, the EW comic. That
Yep.
Right.
Because
so,
that
okay.
comic's in EW also.
So
if you
that
look at
was
the
an
top corner.
EW. Okay, wow.
It actually has an EW on the comic book the little kid has.
Ooh, that's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna get me in trouble because now I'm gonna get on eBay. Like, how much would it cost to get one of these old? Yeah. But anyway, it's a really visually cool moment because the DeLorean does sort of replicate the look of the UFO on this kid's comic book.
Oh, definitely. And that's why they picked it.
Yeah.
They specifically picked the DeLorean for the gull wings to make it look like a spaceship or a saucer. Yeah.
Now, there was a subtitle on that comic book also. Spaceman from Pluto.
Ah, the real title.
Yeah,
Of this
the
movie.
episode or the issue title or whatever.
Okay, so it wasn't totally random that Sid went with that.
No, that's what they. No, that's
Oh,
what
they
they
put
gave
it
him.
in to bust.
They
his-
put it in to appease him.
I love it.
Oh,
That's
did they
great.
really? See, I'm
Yeah.
thinking this guy's like watching the dailies and he's like, you know what? Fuck this title they got going. That
And do you know
comic-
what that little kid's name was?
No.
No.
It's only in the credits. It's Sherman Peabody, which is a throwback to the
God,
Rocky Bullwinkle
damn,
Peabody
that is
That's
Sherman
so
great.
cartoons.
good.
That
Time
is
travel.
so great.
Yep.
Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis.
If you look
Yep.
in the credits, his name is Sherman Peabody.
That is fantastic.
That's
I should have
great,
seen that.
man.
That's so great.
Uh,
Yeah,
So,
a
yeah.
couple of great lines. Old Man Peabody's lines are so great.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
got
God.
you mutated son of a bitch.
He's already mutated to human form. Shoot him.
oh yeah, and then when he drives away and runs over his pine, you space bastard!
You killed
You
my
killed my
pine.
pine!
Which actually comes
ironically
back
enough-
into play later in the movie.
Yep, I was going to say earlier when we went to the mall, it was called Twin Pines Mall. Let's see what happens later in the movie.
Let's see. You know, my wife bought me a mug that says Twin Pines Mall. And when you fill it with hot liquid, that disappears, and
Really?
it turns into the Lone Pine Mall.
Oh, that's
cool.
fantastic.
Oh.
I love that.
She's the best, man. Honey, I love you. I love you. I know you're not going to listen to this, but I love you. So, yes, Marty narrowly escapes from the Peabody's farm and runs down one of his pines, and he's just having a fucking freak out. Like, he thinks he's hallucinating at this point.
Well, he must be because, you know, it's like 1 a.m. when he gets there, and somehow within like 2 minutes, it's already sunrise. And then, like a couple minutes later, it's bright daylight.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We got a real Halloween situation here with the time.
Like, I'm not sure how long he sat in that barn, but, like, before they came. Well, I know, because it was, like, instantly, because they came out as soon as they heard
Yeah,
the
they
noise.
came because the things were still smoking and stuff. So.
And it was still, like, 1-something in the morning at that point in time, just 30 years
Yeah.
in the past. And who the hell, when they hear something crash into their barn, brings their entire family out?
There's something dangerous out here. Wake the kids up.
Let's all go out together.
The opening scene of Mars Attacks, the whole family comes out of the house
Yeah.
Oh,
to
yeah,
watch
that's
the
true.
burning cows and flying saucers. So it must be a flying saucer thing.
Maybe.
So-
And why isn't the DeLorean covered in ice?
Because it was too expensive. They,
Yeah,
they did it
exactly.
once. They did it
wouldn't
once
look
and
like
it looked
a flying
cool.
saucer on a comic book cover.
Yeah, but they were like,
All right.
man, that was just so impractical. So Marty drives back home. It's the only thing he could think to do. But when he gets to his neighborhood has not yet been built.
Right.
Yep. Although, for some reason, those stupid gates are still there.
The stupid gates
Well,
are there,
they're
but
building
that's
them.
it. And the billboard that's advertising his future neighborhood. It's really cool. At this point in the film, it feels very Twilight Zone. It feels very throwback Twilight Zone to me, at least.
Oh, absolutely.
Marty attempts to get the car going again, and it stalls. This is the first time the car has this sort of mechanical failure. And again, going back to this time travel paradox theory, the theory is that if he was able to continue driving the car into town, people would have freaked out. The government would have gotten involved. You know, the movie could not have proceeded the way it did. And that would have created a real problem with the fabric of space and time.
Exactly.
So he had to hide it behind the billboard. Excuse me, my beer is wearing off. So he hoofs it. He goes downtown to, the town square where he was hanging out with his girlfriend at the beginning of the movie down in Hill Valley. You get this cool Mr. Sandman sequence where he's just taking everything in, how different it is, like how quaint. And to me, as a kid who was not alive in this time period, maybe it's romanticized, but this is what I think of whenever I think of the 50s.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Just like this idyllic sort of, town square.
Well, the
Now
way
they-
they cut to the gas station and you see the pump jockeys coming out, taking care of the car, the soda
They
shop.
filmed all
whole
the 50s scenes first while the towns looked nice and pretty. Then they dirtied it up for the 80s scenes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, I say that, but I'm I'm a brown guy, so if I traveled back to 1955, I don't know if I would have had the same luck as Marty. It would have been so idyllic to see.
That's true. Might have been
Yeah.
a bit different. You're 100% right.
I don't know. I mean, you could run for mayor.
That's true. One day, I'm
Yeah.
gonna clean up this town.
Yep.
So I got to say another moment in this scene that reaffirms how beautiful this movie is so Mr. Sandman's playing. It's such a perky, upbeat, like you said, 50s idyllic song. And when it all starts really setting in to Marty that there's obviously something very wrong going on here, Mr. Sandman transitions out and this eerie, the eerie score starts playing. And then the clock tower rings, and then he just turns around and looks at the clock tower ringing, which he's never heard in his life because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's near flawless for me as far as movie making goes. Like just that, it was such a smooth transition, and then his reaction, when it all sets in, when it sinks in,
Yeah.
that he's not in Kansas anymore, so to speak.
Preach it, man. Preach it to me, brother Doug.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about this sequence. And then immediately after that, he goes to the trash can, picks up the newspaper, and it has the
Yes.
date, November 5th, 1955. I don't know what that shot is. It's a really cool looking shot where it almost looks like the camera's locked and it moves in in an arc. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure like some film, person is screaming at whatever they're listening to right now. I'm sure there's a
I
term for
know.
this shot.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Jaws shot is real famous for that.
Yes,
for
exactly.
that effect. But it just works so well in the context of like, oh shit, this is not a dream. This is really happening. This
Right.
weirdness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we get the same van. Well, it's not the same van, but the same like idea of a van driving around. But now they're trying to elect Red Thomas
Yeah.
Yes.
as mayor.
Who we meet later in the film.
Yes, we do. Or at least
Yeah.
it's thought that could be him possibly.
Yes, that's true.
I have heard some mixed feelings on that. But see, for me, this is where some of the other cooler cars of the movie exist is in this time period.
Oh, hell yeah.
Definitely. So Marty goes into the diner, which previously, in his existence was an aerobics class where he was waving to the sweeties every morning. There's no
Right,
sweeties. Yeah,
I know.
there's no Suzanne Summers and leotards. It's now it's a diner with a curmudgeon man, and Marty just wants to use a phone.
Lou.
Lou,
I love
that's
Lou.
right. Lou's
I love
Diner.
Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marty goes to the phone booth and he's looking up Doc Brown's address. Tears the page out in front of the guy, which I always
know.
registered
Yeah.
as weird to me.
Because it looks like Lou's the kind of guy to beat the snot out of you if you did
Yeah,
that.
hey, you tore up my thing, and you're gonna buy something?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
the fuck are you doing? But that's also one of those things that I didn't know. Like culturally in the 50s, was it acceptable to do that? Like,
No, it was
kinda
Yeah, I was
blew my
wondering.
head.
I wondered that myself.
It was never acceptable to do that. You kept that to yourself if you did it.
So Lou does give Marty the business and says, "Look, man, you got to order something or get the hell out." So
Yeah.
you get this funny back and forth about like, "I'll take a Pepsi free
I'll take a tab.
or tab,"
I can't give you a tab until you order something.
and then the Pepsi free. Well, if you want a
Yeah.
Pepsi, you're gonna have to pay for it.
For it. Just
Like,
give me
give me
some with
something
no
with no
sugar.
And then he hands a 17-year-old a cup of black coffee,
Yeah.
which I couldn't acquire a taste for until I was like 32. So good on Marty, man. So Marty is sitting there at the bar, and who sits down next to him but his dad?
Yeah.
Also, we meet Biff again, a younger Biff, with his kind of crew, his gang of miscreants with him, and they're there to harass George McFly because that's what they do.
And something interesting about Crispin Glover, he lost his voice during shooting. So there were multiple scenes where he had to mouth his words and they had to dub them back later because he couldn't speak. I don't know if this scene in particular is one of them, but it happened on a few scenes that they had to actually go back and dub his audio back in.
Oh wow! I didn't see.
Yeah.
I'm learning new things about. That's why I love doing this podcast, man. Is because I
Yeah,
love this
we're
movie
all-
so much, and I'm
we're all
learning
learning
stuff
stuff.
I never knew.
Yep.
So this the scene, play for play, is the scene in the beginning of the film where Biff needs him to do some work for him for the
Yes.
company that they both work for. In
Yep.
this case, he needs his homework done, and the lines are identical, and it just works so well as a mirror.
They're almost identical.
almost
Right.
identical.
Right.
There's one part that I actually caught, and I was happy they did it. In the original scene, he goes, "Not too early. I sleep in on Saturdays." In this scene, he goes, "Not too early. I sleep in on Sundays because a day has passed."
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
glad they did. They actually caught that continuity error before I could shit on it.
They knew one day you'd have a podcast and you'd just be looking for things, man. They're like,
Because
you know
a day has now passed, so it is now Sunday. Even though, would
No,
it
it's
really be
not.
Sunday?
It's not. It's still Saturday.
No, because the night he was crashing the barn.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that was,
so-
that was
yeah, it
still
would have been-
1:30 in the morning. It was already whatever. It was the 5th.
But it's daylight outside when he's in the restaurant.
I understand that, but if it's 1:30 in the morning on the 5th, and then it's later in the day when the sun comes up, it's still the 5th. So it's the same day.
But also, just because it's the same day doesn't mean it's the same day of the week. Like
No, I know exactly. He did change it.
That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering. I wonder if they looked back and like see. Okay, so what day was November 5th? I'm gonna
Yes,
scroll back.
November 5th. I do know because I didn't look this up, but I did look up that going back to the opening scene with the newspaper clipping
So
about
November
his.
5th of 1985 would have been a Tuesday.
Okay.
And let's see what it would be on November 5th, 1955. Thank God for a computer that you can actually go back and
Yeah, I know, right?
look at all these things. No, so November of 1955, the 5th would have been a Saturday.
All right, so they
Okay,
got it right. That's
okay.
why he said Sunday.
Look at that.
That's
man.
exactly it. Cool beans.
So, but the original would have been a Tuesday. It would 85 would have been a Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what the real problem with this movie is if he had traveled from November 5th, 1985 to November 5th, 1955, he would be in outer space. Right? Because the planet would be in a different position around the sun.
Wow. All right now. Okay.
That's pretty funny.
All right,
Yeah.
so we get that nice little bullying moment, but Marty, sticks up for his dad in a way, and he's a little tougher than his old man, right out of the gate.
Yes.
So, oh, I'm losing my place here. My God, I'm having a I'm
Soda
out of
shop.
beer stroke.
Goldie walks up behind him, or no, Biff comes in. McFly.
Yes,
Right.
Biff and the crew come in. This is the scene where Marty trips Biff.
No, that's later.
No.
Oh, that's
later
later.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when everybody's in there. He does it in front of everybody.
Right. No, this is when he stands up to Biff for the first time.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. And we get that shot of just how tall Biff is in comparison to
Yes.
Marty.
Yeah.
Over the
Exactly.
shoulder, and his eyes get wide, and he's like, "Oh
the
God,
first
this is such
shot,
a great shot."
the first shot of that comparison. Marty seems to keep forgetting how big Biff is.
That's true. All right, so we get
Well, real quick though, with Biff's gang, Billy Zane before he was famous,
Yep.
Titanic, and Casey Shamasco too. So I dig him as a character actor. He was in 3 O'clock High. I don't know if you guys remember that movie where he's bullied and he's going to get his ass kicked by the guy at 3 o'clock. It's a silly high school movie, but he was in that. He was in Stand By Me. He was in Young Guns. So I dig him too. Anyway, go ahead.
nice. All right, so after Biff and the gang leaves, you have Goldie Wilson, who works in the diner. Just kind of like, why don't you stand up for yourself? And George is a coward, and Biff is much bigger than him. And Marty's amazed at what's going down, and he sees Goldie Wilson, and he blurts out like, "You're going to be the mayor." And this is actually the moment where Goldie Wilson decides, "Hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea."
Exactly.
And he becomes the mayor of Hill Valley in the 80s.
Yep.
There's
He's
a lot
gonna
of...
clean up this town.
He's going to clean it. We'll start by sweeping up this... Yeah.
I start sweeping the floor.
But this is really one of the first big ways that Marty, shapes the
But-
future of
But when the
his-
movie starts earlier, Goldie Wilson was already the mayor, so had Marty already went back at that point?
Yes, because it's called
But
predestination.
it wasn't fully retconned because his family was still living in a shitty life.
Well, this is sort of the theory of the two timelines, right? Is
Right.
the original timeline was always destined to be changed into a secondary timeline. So it's a predestination in that Marty would always have traveled from 85 to 55 and set those things into motion.
Exactly. It has to happen that way.
But if he because he sets two big things into motion. First of all, the Goldie Wilson becoming mayor, but he also sets his dad into standing up to Biff. So in the previous existence, though, Wilson was still the mayor, but his dad had not yet stood up to Biff.
That's true. I get what you're saying. And,
Yeah.
It's like, why would one thing be changed but not the other? If they're going to count it that way, then both things would have been changed.
that's no, I track what you're saying, and you could always argue that he got inspired in some other way to become mayor. He was always
Right.
He watched Blazing Saddles.
he was
Yeah,
Blazing
you go.
Saddles.
Yes, exactly.
There's a timeline in which a black guy invents rock and roll, and there's a timeline in which he stole it from a white 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
So
there's some,
this reminds me to point out that some of the information I got is from a documentary called Back in Time. It's from 2015. They interviewed everybody from Zemeckis to Gale to Michael J. Fox, the whole cast, and they did a lot of fan stuff too. It was about an hour and a half long. It's on Netflix. It's really good, and they had a lot of scenes with Donald Fullilove, who plays Goldie Wilson, and he comes across in this documentary as like the nicest guy on the planet Earth, and
Yeah,
he's
he's
so
cool.
embracing of his character, even though it's small. Like when he goes, Mayor, he'll do that. Like he has people, he says, come up to him on the street all the time and just ask him to do that. And he just does it because he loves to do it and he loves to be cool to the fans. So he just seemed like
that's
a really
amazing.
cool guy. And I would recommend this Back in Time documentary to everybody because it's really it's a nice, nostalgic, memorable view of what went on behind the scenes and in front of the camera. There's a lot of footage of Eric Stoltz. They show the scenes that were shot. Quick snippets. They don't go into a lot, but you see the scene where we just talked about where Marty walks through town in 1955. They showed the Eric Stoltz version of that. And it's just, it's weird to see it, obviously, along with it.
What about the guy in the dog suit?
Well, I don't know if they
Guy in the
mentioned
dog
that.
suit.
But it's definitely a cool thing. It's a cool documentary to watch if you're a fan of the movie. So, and that's where I got a lot of my stuff from. So,
nice.
Go ahead.
All right, so George leaves the diner and Marty follows. This is his father after all. He's perplexed. He loses track of him until he finds him up in a tree, spying on a girl getting undressed.
Great line.
Full on binoculars, and realizes that his dad is a peeping Tom,
It's such a great line.
Like
He's
a
peeping
prevert.
Tom.
a prevert. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is he discovers that this whole story about how his parents met was predicated on his father just being a pervert.
Right, and falling out of a tree.
Which falling out of a tree, which you never knew. So George falls out of the tree as Lorraine's dad's car is driving down the street, and Marty instinctively pushes him out of the way, but gets hit himself, effectively placing himself in the position of George. And this is the point at which the movie becomes about a boy's mother wanting to fuck her son.
Yeah, it's the weirdest
Yeah,
thing.
this is
ever.
what turned Disney off
Yeah.
to want to
And
make this
Paramount
movie.
didn't think it was enough. They're like, yeah,
I
this
know.
one's not racy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gets very, very uncomfortable from this point forward.
Speaking of uncomfortable, I just sent over a picture of the stuntman with the dog head on.
I saw
Oh
it.
God,
Great.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
His
It's
name,
so
the
great.
stuntman's name was Dick Butler.
Oh
There you
no.
go. Yeah,
So they had a
that is
Dick Butler act like the dog.
nice.
All right, so Marty wakes up. It's nighttime. He basically has this like, oh, it was all a dream moment because his mother's
Right.
voice tells him, oh, you've been out for a long time, Marty, and
9 hours, Marty.
he's assured that he's safe and sound in good old 1955. So he
Yep.
snaps back to reality, like, oh fuck. He sees his mom, but she's young and she is hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this
Leah
was like,
Thompson,
You're so hot.
to this day.
Finn.
Okay. He's definitely one of
Oh,
my
man.
crushes.
oh yeah, dog, dude. Listen, Leah
I mean, she was-
Thompson was
Yeah.
at the top of my list growing up, man. Like,
She
just
was
one
in
of my
all the
biggest
Brat Pack
crushes.
movies that I saw as a
Yeah.
late teens, early 20s guy, and yeah, definitely she's
Howard
cool.
the Duck.
Yeah,
Right,
Howard the Duck
exactly.
was the real winner there.
I
Yeah.
told this story on Just Surprise Me, so real quick, I'll give you the cliff notes. When I met Leah Thompson, I came really dangerously close to asking her what it was like to have sex with a duck. Because I kind of froze up, man. Like I was so
Yeah, sure.
starstruck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get really strong sexual tension between a mother and son in this scene.
Oh yeah, it's weird. One of my favorite lines in the whole movie is "Where are my pants?" Over there on my hope chest.
On my hope chest.
I
The
absolutely
way she
love
delivers that line is just so
Yes.
classic, man.
Exactly.
Oh,
she's
she's
looking
like
down, sort
super,
of bashfully
like, horny.
looking down on my hope chest. And I
this
gotta
is
say
where-
that the whole. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say this is the scene where we get Marty's nickname while he's in the 50s of Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
Or if you lived in France at the time, Pierre Cardin.
Thank you. Was going to bring that up, but I do have to bring up. It's funny because the Calvin Klein joke is very 1985, because back then, like, you had your tidy whities and you had your straight boxers, and the designer like undergarment thing was just starting to blossom, late 70s, early 80s. So
Okay.
it was like, I wouldn't have been caught dead in a pair of Calvin Kleins because, you were a douche if you wore that kind of stuff. So, or probably in my case, I convinced myself I didn't qualify to wear Calvin Kleins because I was a geek loser. But anyway, it's a very 1985 thing. I mean, it doesn't fall flat at all today. People get it and they laugh at it, but it was definitely an 80s thing, so.
Damn, that's interesting, man, because I was born in 1985, so
Right.
Even learning the history of underwear. When I was growing up, it was like boxer shorts. If you didn't wear boxer shorts, like
Yeah.
if you still wore tidy whities in high school, it was a problem,
I was a tidy whitey guy till about 8 years ago.
Oh,
Then I went boxer. But
That's dedication.
just really quickly, it goes back to the whole thing about what we used to call designer jeans. There were Levi's and there were the knockoff brands, but then like the Calvin Klein designer jeans with like stitching decorations on the pockets and stuff and tight fitting jeans. They came in the late 70s and early 80s, and that this whole underwear thing was part of that. So, all right, that's the history lesson. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and Marty was a cool kid, so that tracks that he'd have like the
Yes,
hip
100%.
sort of
A
stuff.
player.
I mean, he was
They were
wearing
players' underwear,
suspenders
and
for
he
no
was a player.
reason. Yeah. All right, so all of the little puzzle pieces that we got earlier in the film are now starting to come into play. Like we meet the baby version of Uncle Jailbird Joey.
Yeah,
And,
that's great.
He's
Better get used to those bars, kid.
yeah.
I know. He loves his playpen. He just cries whenever we take him out, so we just leave him in there. That's what the mom says.
We get some more sexual tension with Lorraine, and come sit next to me, and she's touching his leg.
Oh,
and-
she
I'm gonna
is
give you an under the table handy.
out of control. Completely out of control.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And there's also another really funny line when he's trying to figure out where John F. Kennedy Drive is.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Who the hell's
Now,
JFK?
this is what made me think is he's trying to figure out where the doc lives, yet he knows where the fucking doc lives because he goes there all the fucking time.
I know, exactly. Well, no, it was... Yeah, I don't know. I agree. It is kind
Just
of
because
weird.
the streets have different names doesn't mean they're not in the same place.
Yeah.
He's
But
just
just
very
a-
out
just
of
a-
sorts, Joe.
A couple of quick points about this scene, some continuity issues, but things that were done on purpose. Yeah, first off, like the JFK thing, with the dad not knowing who JFK was pretty famous in 1955. He was a senator from Massachusetts. His dad was Joe Kennedy. Everybody knew the Kennedys, so it's a little off, but it doesn't matter. But the whole Honeymooners thing, right? So
Yeah.
the Honeymooners premiered in 1955 in October, so it was definitely on, and they were new. But that episode didn't debut until New Year's Eve, 1955. They used it because it made sense, because it was the Spaceman episode. So it made perfect sense, and I completely get it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, there was an episode, I don't know the title of that one, that was released on November 5th in 1955.
Maybe they were a Nielsen family.
Exactly. But, I totally get it why they use that. And it's a couple of months or it's a month, whatever. But, yeah, that's the nerd in me. I actually looked all that shit up. Okay.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So, leaving Lorraine's house when Marty makes his exit, makes his way over to Doc Brown's place, which now there's a house, which there wasn't in the 80s. You see
awesome house.
50s Doc for the first time, so he doesn't have the ball wrinkles on his neck anymore, which is nice.
Exactly.
Change of pace.
Exactly. Otherwise, he looks the same.
Oh, exactly the same. Yeah.
Because that's Christopher Lloyd. He always looked old. When he was young, he looked
Yeah.
old,
Yes.
And I do find it funny that we find out Einstein is 30 years old. I mean, they didn't specifically say that his name was Einstein, but they had like Einie Puppy, I'm like, come on.
I read that as because wasn't the dog Copernicus in the 50s.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
they might have
was.
said his name. You're right. I think he did. Not in that movie. In 3. Was it 3? I don't know. But you're right. I mean, they don't specifically say it's Einstein, and we obviously know it's not because the dog's not
Yeah,
30 years
yeah.
old. But it's a cute way. They just bring this puppy that looks like Einstein. So, yeah.
So Doc's got this big device on his head, this ridiculous, device, and it's a mind reading apparatus. So he sticks this suction cup on Marty's head, and it's no, don't tell me anything, don't tell me anything. And he surmises that Marty came from a great distance, and wants him to make a donation to the Coast Guard Youth Auxiliary.
Yes.
Now, the obvious gag is that Doc is bullshitting and he's just doing a cold read on this kid because he's wearing the orange vest and all that.
Yeah.
But if you really dig at this thing, I think that his invention worked. It was just kind of pulling information from different
Right.
places.
Yeah,
So
I don't disagree.
He did come from a great distance.
Yep.
That whole wants him to make a donation. He was maybe seeing flashes of the flyer or the
Right.
the clock tower thing, and the Coast Guard Youth Auxiliary. When he got to 1955, he got that comment like, "What'd you jump ship, kid?" Like
Yeah.
people were always talking about this vest. So
No, it's
make
true.
of that what you will, but that's my theory.
Yeah.
Marty lays it all out there for Doc. He's a time traveler. He's from the future. Doc thinks he's full of shit.
Future boy.
Future boy.
I
He
love
tries
him
to give
calling
him
it.
proof. He's shown his driver's license, his family photo. When Doc looks at it, he throws a line out there like, "This is trickery. Like, look, they cut your brother's hair off."
Yes, and
Which-
Marty didn't catch that at that point.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, And as an audience member, I didn't catch that the first time either until they circle back.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
The only way he's able to convince Doc that he is who he says he is when he describes to him how he got the idea for time travel and the flux capacitor and how he hit his head.
Right.
And that's enough to convince Doc that this kid is telling the truth. So from that point forward, they're working together on this thing.
Yep.
So they drive out to the billboard at Line Estates, and Marty actually shows him the DeLorean, and his reaction is great because he's just like, "Oh shit! Like I invented something that works."
Yeah, and
That's
just
what he got out
another
of it.
a quick nod that was put in the movie when Doc looks inside and he screams, "It works!" That's an homage to the 1931 Frankenstein flick, where Dr. Frankenstein, Colin Clive, screams, "It's alive!" So they made him say it. If you listen to the way Doc says that the first time, it's a nod to that movie. And then he drops, "I finally invented something that works," and he almost mutters, "You bet your ass it works." It's a great reply.
So they get back to Doc's place, and he has the JVC camcorder, which somehow he's able to plug into this
Yeah, I
television
know.
from 1955. We'll overlook that for now. But there's all this scientific jargon in it from the mouth of Doc Brown, so what better source to understand how to help this kid get home? So they're watching it, and finally we get to the point where Doc explains that time travel requires, quote, 1.21 gigawatts of energy from the plutonium. Now, the way I understand it, it's the proper pronunciation of this word is gigawatts.
Yes.
It's kind of like GIF and GIF.
Yeah.
They
But
mispronounced it.
it was just a mispronunciation, and they went with it. And gigawatts is funnier. It's just a funnier word.
Oh, it
Gigawatts.
works. No, absolutely. I agree.
So he freaks out. He's like, "What did I just say?" You rewind it, and he says it again. 1.21 gigawatts. That's
How
an
could I be so
impossible-
careless?
Yeah, an impossible amount of energy to generate. And Marty's telling him, "We just need some plutonium." It's like, I'm sure in 1985 plutonium's available in every corner store. But the bottom line is, you're stuck here. There's no way to get plutonium, and there's no way to get that much energy. It will require a literal bolt of lightning, and that's when you get your plot
Deus Ex
payback.
Machina?
Yeah, exactly. You get the flyer, baby. So now we know
Yep.
exactly where and when lightning is going to strike. And they hatch a plan to harness this lightning strike, shoot it into the car, and send Marty back to 1985.
Yeah. And there's a quick callback to the opening scene in Doc's house. You know, he grabs the picture of Edison, and he's talking to Tom about how he's going to do it. And then you look on the wall or up on the mantle above the fireplace, and you've got Isaac Newton and Ben Franklin and Einstein. And in the opening scene, 3 of those 4 pictures are hanging. Newton's picture isn't there. For whatever reason, I couldn't find
shit.
anything about it anywhere. But
It
as
probably
to
fell
why
down
it
because
wasn't
of gravity.
Joe!
It was heavy.
Zing! That was a good one. But yeah, so it's funny that those pictures survived the fire at that point, I guess. If it ever happened, actually. But yeah, they were up on his wall in his new place in '85.
That's crazy. See, this is another thing I never noticed, man.
Also, Thomas Edison was a dickhead. in real
Oh
life.
yeah, we can do an episode of JSM about
Yeah.
Edison and how much of a dickhead he was.
And how he screwed over Nikolai Tesla.
Oh, big
Oh, yeah,
time.
Yeah.
Big time. He fucked his brain up so bad. Anyway, but yeah.
Yep.
All right, so this lightning strike is going to happen in about a week. And Marty's like, all right, cool. I can live with that. I can hang out here. You know, you can show me around. This is great. And Doc tells him, oh, no, you can't leave this place, man. Like, if you willy-nilly fuck around, you could mess things up bad. And, it's like, oh, really? Because, I sort of kind of bumped into my parents. And
Right.
now they're not going to fall in love. We see the photo again, and Dave is just disappearing, man, from
Yeah.
existence. So now we have this race against time to get Marty's parents to fall in love the way they're supposed to, or he's just going to be erased from existence. And the big blocking stone to that is that now, instead of being in love with George, Marty's mother is in love with him, right? And it's this beautiful layer of creepiness over this whole film.
And as we
Yeah,
find
it's
out
pretty
going
weird.
forward, Marty continues to make that worse again and again
Yeah.
and again.
But he can't help it, man. He's just
Oh,
so
no, he's just
charismatic.
being
He's got an
himself.
Oedipus complex.
He's just being himself. Oh man, come on. He's just being himself. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean he's irresistible to me and many as just the epitome of cool, man.
Yep.
I'm not gay, but if the lighting was right, Michael J. Fox, I'm just putting it out there.
Oh look,
I'm more of a Hemsworth man myself.
I can appreciate that. I can the biceps,
There
but
we-
I digress again. Doug's like, what are you doing?
Oh, I got a list of man crushes, but that's for another day.
All right, so Doc and Marty head to the high school the next day.
Wait, we got the line.
Oh, did I miss?
That's when Doc says it. We're gonna send you, and he looks
Oh,
at
that's
him
right. Let's
the
let Joe
future.
do it.
to the future. And
And he stares right into the camera and points at it as he says it. It's like the original Deadpool.
Yeah, yeah.
a quick callback again to the opening scene. When the title comes up on screen, the word back is there by itself for a half second, just like Doc says it. And then
Yeah.
to the future comes up underneath it. So they mirror that when he says it.
Now, Doug,
Yeah.
did you watch this movie in the theaters?
Yeah, hell yeah. July 4th.
Okay.
July
I was
4th.
just wondering.
No, it's funny because July 4th was a traditional movie day for my cousin and I. My cousin and I are best buds because we've known each other since we were born. And that was our traditional movie day. So we went to see that in 1985. I was not
Nice.
quite married yet. I was 4 months from getting married. And Erica wasn't even in the country at the time. So my cousin and I
Yeah,
were hanging
customs
out.
took
And
quite a while.
exactly, yeah. We packed her up in a box, and we had to get her through quarantine. She was all right now. But yeah, I did see it in the theater, of course, and loved it from that moment on.
Nice. Yeah, I was curious because you had the opportunity to.
Oh yeah, I saw it definitely.
All right, boys. I'm gonna try to get more rapid here because
Yeah, we got to bang.
this is a long one. All right, so quick points to hit. They hit the high school. Basically, hatch a plan to get George to take Lorraine to the dance where they're supposed to kiss and fall in love for the first time.
And I'm
But
going to
like
grind
Doug
it to a
said-
halt real quick. Just for a visual gag, when they're walking up to the high school and there's all the bicycles in front, Marty snakes his way through the bicycles, and Doc Brown, he steps over the bicycle like he's going to mount it and ride it, and then he gets off the other side and goes in. It's so great. And that was all Christopher Lloyd. Like, that was him just being him. So, sorry, go ahead.
I did notice that too. Yeah, it's just so funny.
It's so good.
The shortest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. So, at every attempt to try to get George involved with Lorraine, she just falls deeper in love with Marty because this kid is irresistible, man. Like, look at him; he's fucking awesome. He invents skateboarding and rock and roll in this movie. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
We have a lot leading up to this, but basically, in order to convince George finally to grow a pair and ask her out, Marty dresses up in his radiation suit and pretends to be a spaceman because it seems to be the only way he can connect with his father, who has a deep appreciation for science fiction, and tells him he's Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, and if he doesn't ask her out, he's going to melt his brain. So he's now fully motivated. He was fighting it for a long time.
But real quick, again, sorry.
No, please.
He takes the tape of Edward Van Halen.
Edward
puts it
Van
in-
Halen.
Edward Van Halen.
in the Walkman and plays it. And it turns out that was Eddie Van Halen. They tried to get Van Halen, and Van Halen turned him down because it would have cost too much money. But Eddie recorded those riffs for the movie and never told anybody. And then years and years later, he brought it up, or he was asked about it and said, yeah, that was me. I did it for the movie. So that actually was him, and they were riffs that he just came up with for that. So that's
Yep.
pretty cool. Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, I laughed at the Edward Van Halen, too.
Yeah.
So, now fully motivated to ask this girl out, they go back to the diner, and you get the meet cute between George and Lorraine, because he took notes, much like I took notes,
It's so
and tells her that he is her density.
I am your density. That is the best. And the chocolate milk is so great. Lou, give me a milk chocolate. He
Chocolate.
slides it. He just grabs it. And it's
Yeah.
like the thickest chocolate milk ever because it doesn't spill a drop.
Well, it does when he slams it back on the counter.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, it's a great scene. Lou, milk, chocolate.
I'm wondering when Star Trek and Star Wars came out. I wonder if he thought that both George Lucas and Big Rod got visits in the night from this guy.
Exactly.
He's like, how did you know
Exactly.
about Darth Vader and Vulcan?
Vulcan. Yeah.
I call Roddenberry Big Rod, by the way.
I noticed that, Big Rod. I like
Okay.
that. So just as he's making some traction with Lorraine, Biff and his gang come in, and of course, George is not supposed to be in there. He was warned, and
Yep.
now he's going to get his ass kicked.
And this is where he trips him.
This is where Marty trips him. This is where he sticks his foot out and gets into it with Biff.
And forgets how big Biff is again.
Forgets
Yep.
how big he is again. Sucker punches him and
Well,
runs
Eric
away.
Stoltz sucker punches him.
Yeah, Eric
Yeah.
Stoltz's fist makes an appearance in this scene. Royalty checks have been sent. And decks him and then runs out. Now, when he runs out, he runs to these little kids. They're on these sort of makeshift wooden scooters. And they have roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. So, he sees it, grabs it, says, hey, kid, I'll give this back to you. Breaks the scooter, the handlebar portion off, and invents the world's first skateboard.
Right.
You broke it, mister.
You broke it, mister. So it's just like a 2x4 with some roller skate wheels on it.
Yeah.
But
With
Marty,
a weird crate.
there's
It's
a
a
little
homemade scooter.
kicktail.
Yeah.
He tears ass on this thing, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And everyone runs out to see the commotion. Biff gets in his car with the gang, and they're chasing him down. And there are some really like well done stunt sequences here,
Yes.
with professional skateboarders and hidden ramps, and there's some problems like that. 2x4 grows like actual skateboard trucks and wheels at one point.
It does, yeah. They're little tiny wheels, though.
Yeah, they tried to, they did their best with it. But it's just an awesome sequence. He outwits Biff, makes him crash into a truck of manure,
Which
and his
sets
mother
up a
finds
joke
him.
for movies to come. It's so great.
Yes, the manure joke
The
is,
manure
is set
joke.
up, and Lorraine wants to fuck his son, her
Yes.
son, even more.
The Manor.
It's a dreamboat.
Now, I don't know how many takes it took for him to run over this car and basically hit the windshield, hit in between the seats, and then hit the back without like sticking his foot in the wrong spot. And like
He was on
dying.
wires. He was on wires above the car.
Oh, was he?
Didn't,
Oh, was
he
he?
didn't have to step on anything. Yeah, he was on wires. It might not even been
Because
him.
he hits
might
it
have been
like
stunt double,
perfect.
but- oh no, it was great. It was fantastic. But yeah,
And he does that little skid out with it. Oh, it's just great.
yeah, it
Just-
was.
yeah.
It was cool.
They had like the flints in the trucks, so it would like spark and everything.
yes,
It's just awesome.
Yeah, yep.
So yeah, this was like the first major Biff explosive thing that we get in the series.
Oh shit!
Oh shit, indeed. So now we're at the point where, what point are we at? We're getting to
Lorraine. They're back at Doc's lab, and Lorraine shows up.
Yeah,
That's
she
right.
like
She
follows
him home
Follows
because
him home.
Who is that? I don't
I'm gonna
know, but
find
I'm gonna
out.
find out.
Oh God, Lorraine. That's right.
The
So she
Hobbit.
follows him back to the lab, and they cover up the time machine, and he makes up a story that this is his uncle, and basically lays it on thick, like, oh yeah, George he's cute and all, but I think a man should be able to stand up for his woman,
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they give each
first
other this
before-
look.
Before that, though, Doc is showing him like this insane model he made. He goes, "I'm sorry, I didn't have time to paint it."
Yeah.
Or built it to scale. Yeah.
He like made this crazy model
Very big, elaborate. Yeah.
just to, like.
Which you could have easily just said, hey, when the lightning hits the clock tower, you're going to drive by with this
Yeah.
hook.
I
But
mean,
he's like, no, let me wind up this toy car. And it's really funny the way he reacts to it catching, like, the rags on fire.
yeah, he's
and
like,
all.
That is the best. I love that. I love that reaction. I have a note. It's just so good when he does. He just goes.
and he has the weirdest like fire extinguisher.
Yeah. Well, that's the way they were back then. It was filled with water. You had to turn it upside down. There was no pressure in
But
it.
like, you don't put water on an oil fire.
I know.
Hey, man,
There's paint cans and oil in there, and he's spraying water on it. That doesn't work.
you got to work with what you got, man.
Exactly.
That's how his house burned down.
Right. Right.
That probably is.
It could be.
Although the garage is a separate building from the house.
Yeah, and that actually
That's
happened
true.
in '61. So.
That's true. That's true. No, I'm just saying, like, he's got access to these antiquated fire extinguishers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's probably cooking some bacon or something, and things got out of hand. All right, so we get the demonstration. We get Lorraine busting in on him, and
She's playing some Two Live Crew.
she plays some
Oh,
Two Live
me
Crew,
so horny.
So-
Oh man.
and basically asks Marty to take her to the dance, which is a super like weird. I guess it for the time, like, it would be inappropriate for a girl to ask a boy to a dance. So
Well,
she
she said
asked
that.
the boy to ask her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless it was a Sadie Hawkins.
Right.
Oh, that's true. The Sadie Hawkins.
Sadie
I
Hawkins.
remember those, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So he agrees, because what is he going to say? Like, he's pretty defeated at this point. But he concocts the scheme in which, like, all right, I'm taking my mom to this dance, but we're going to make George look like a hero who can do all the things she wants and stand up for the woman he loves and all that. So they devise this sort of play act where, I'm going to take advantage of my mom, which...
Yeah.
If the movie wasn't uncomfortable enough already,
I know.
and you could see it in Marty's face, he's like, "Oh, He's like, you're going to come in and into the car and pull me out and deliver your line, which is, you get your damn hands off her. And, deck me in the stomach and you'll be the hero and everything will work.
Yep.
So if we now, I don't want to skip over too much, but if we now get to the point where we're at the dance and getting set up for this sort of finale, things do not go according to plan.
Right. Well, we do have just the quick scene where, Doc and Marty have that heart-to-heart talk while they're setting up at the clock tower. And then Marty goes to the soda shop and writes that note. It's funny when they get back and the cop confronts Doc asking him what he's doing, and he asks for a permit. Him. Doc bribes him. He's even going into his wallet for a couple of bucks, and that's when Marty slips the note in his pocket. And then we're at the dance.
I will admit to you, I didn't catch that. I've been watching this movie since I was a kid.
Oh, I didn't catch it till this week.
Maybe 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I only caught it this week. I'm serious. I didn't know it happened until I saw his. Oh yeah, I have a permit right here, and he takes his wallet out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he starts unfolding the wallet. Yeah. Yeah. I was a little slow on that one too.
There's actually a deleted scene where it's showing him give the money out there, and they deleted it because Marty says at that point in time, "Do I really got to go to the dance with her? I mean, will that make me gay?"
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they took it out because that was in it, and they didn't
put
that in there.
All right. Yeah.
Huh. All right, so Marty picks up his mom in Doc Brown's car. What kind of car is that? Because that's also a pretty cool car.
It's a really cool car. I wish I knew. I should know.
Looks
My
like an
dad
old Buick or something.
Yeah, it's like one of those old, gangster movie looking cars.
Like my dad would know immediately.
I got it on my screen here. Let me bring it up and see if I get a good look at it.
So while you're looking that up, they get to the dance, and Marty reluctantly asks his mother if they can park. And, this coded terminology.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah, no, that's a great idea.
I'm almost 18. I've parked plenty of times.
It has a giant, I think it's a Rolls Royce.
No, it's not a
really?
Rolls Royce.
Well, it's got a winged lady on the hood, and that's usually the spirit of excellence.
We're gonna have to research this one a little bit.
It's a cream-colored car, and it has like a winged hood ornament on
it's
it.
It's a Packard.
The Packard had a winged hood ornament?
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture. It's a Packard convertible.
Okay, I thought it was
a
what
year. 1940. It's a 1949 Packard.
Packard. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So they're parking in the Packard, and he's learning that his mom is not only very sexually active at this age, but drinks and smokes and does all the things that she, tells them they should never do in the 80s. And, Marty's very dismayed at all of this, man. He's just like, he's to the point where he doesn't even think he can follow through with feeling his mom up, which is an understandable place to be. I mean,
yeah.
If they would have gone the other direction, I don't know that this movie would have done so well.
I know. No. Well, he also comes to the realization that it's not going to have the desired effect if he does.
Yeah, exactly.
That's as much of the problem as anything.
Yep. So yeah, exactly. Lorraine basically jumps on top of Marty to kiss him, and in that moment has this realization that like, oh, this is off. This is weird. She says it feels like I'm kissing my brother.
Yep.
And I think this was a smart way of writing themselves out of this creepy mountain that they've scaled.
Oh, definitely.
This entire movie. Yeah.
Definitely.
So the doors opened, and you're expecting, everything to play out the way they rehearsed. And Marty gets pulled out of the car, but instead of being George, it's Biff. Because Biff is pissed about the manure.
Yep.
And he wants to take it out. $300, which in 1955 sounds like an extraordinary amount of money.
I was thinking about that. I agree.
Not to mention the sucker punch.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty, I mean, it's a huge size disadvantage, but it was a bitch move, Marty. Come on. But anyway, he takes Marty out of the car and then sees Lorraine in there, and then it gets very rapey.
Oh, it's just straight up. Like he is straight up raping her. And
Yeah, he is going to rape this girl.
And
And,
I'll say that one of the reasons that they went that far with Biff's character was because there were no plans for a sequel to this movie. So they didn't think of keeping that character even remotely likable. They didn't have to worry about that because they weren't thinking sequel. So they're just going to go, and they're also obviously it's going to be erased because of things changing, kinda. But yeah, that's the reason why they went full on, sexual assaulter with
Well, not
him.
to mention they were modeling him after a real person who likes to grab women by this certain area.
Oh, I don't think so, but that's a coinky dink.
Eventually we get to some scary parallels with this character.
Yeah, it's true. But,
But
Yeah.
no, that makes sense because it does take him into like irredeemable territory.
Right, and they
Whereas
didn't have
he was
to-
a
they-
bully
right.
before. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. So he's doing that, and they take Marty and throw him into the trunk of a car that's parked.
That's a
take him
Cadillac. I
around
know
back,
that.
boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That nice caddy.
That is a smoke-filled Cadillac. I think he's getting hotboxed.
Well, there's some quote unquote reefer addicts in there.
Reefer addicts, yeah.
Well, I won't call them what else they get called.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not gonna
But I
fly.
will say my favorite response is what they say is, "What did you say, Peckerwood?"
I know. I love that. I absolutely love that line.
So, Marvin Berry and the Starlighters, man, they're playing the dance and they're taking a smoke break and, just getting a little tooted in the Cadillac. And Marty's locked in the trunk because for some reason the car keys are in the trunk,
In the trunk.
which that never tracked with me either. It's like, that's a weird place to have them at
Yeah,
all.
I know. I got it. Just given the Marvin and the Starlighters, okay? So they go from auditioning high school kids to play the dance to hiring Marvin and the Starlighters. Like adults who definitely did not audition in the gym to get that gig. So it's kind
Yeah.
of funny.
Oh, yeah. Much more professional.
Yeah, I think they decided,
state of
nope, the
affairs
kids
in the
aren't going to work. We're going to have to pay the big bucks.
So they can't get him out of the car because it's locked. So they're trying to jimmy this thing open. While they're trying to get him out of the car, George arrives and he's ready to carry out the play acting scene. But now instead of Marty, it is Biff, and he is actually assaulting this girl. So we get this amazing sort of resolution of character arc for George when he
Yep.
finally stands up to his bully. And this is something that George, we find out, would not have done in the original timeline. So it's a major change.
Right.
We see George sort of grow a spine here and say, no, I'm not going to stand for this. This is wrong, and I
Yeah.
don't care what the consequences are going to be. I'm not going to stand here and let this happen.
And
So-
obviously, it's all Marty's influence. I mean,
Yeah.
because there are so many lines that Marty tells George that George then tells Marty. You know what I mean? When
Yep.
he's giving his
Yeah.
son advice, and so he definitely gets George straightened out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest running themes of this movie is if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Exactly.
That was something that Doc told Marty,
Yep.
and later that Marty told his
Marty told
father, and
George
then
and-
eventually his father would tell him. So yeah, it's this
Yes.
through line of this movie is, buckle down and do it, and
Yep. Yep.
you'll be rewarded. So he stands up to Biff in a big bad way, almost gets his arm broken because he
Yes.
telegraphs his punch real bad. But he has this like heroic moment of balling his fist up and getting real mad and laying Biff out with a punch to the face.
With his left hand.
Yeah. That was a left-hand haymaker.
It was a straight up left-handed haymaker.
Yep.
And the cool thing about that scene was like Biff's reaction to it was
Yes.
played so well on Tom Wilson's face because he goes to like incredulous, like you fucking wimp. to,
Yes.
oh shit, what's he doing? And then boom,
Right.
he's out.
Boom. Spins him around, and he goes down.
So, and I should say right before this happens, they finally do get Marty out of the trunk, but in the process, Marvin slices his hand with the screwdriver. So we're now in a position where Marty gets to see his father do the thing, which is cool, but now Marvin can't play, and the dance is over. So, despite this great moment and Lorraine, you know, seeing George in a new light, they're still not going to have the kiss, and they're still not going to have the moment where they know they're going to spend the rest of their lives together, because the dance is effectively over. So that puts Marty in the position where, you know, I can play guitar. And we get another cool musical moment. One of the most iconic sequences in this movie is the dance and Marty. So when we start, they're playing Earth Angel, you know, real traditionally, and he's running out of time. He's literally disappearing from existence. So he's missing notes, and he's, you know.
Yeah, but even when he could play, he's playing chords, but it ain't the right chords.
Yeah. So this is another one of those where it's hard to watch. If you play guitar, even if you don't play guitar, even if you just have like a sense of timing and an understanding of like how sound works, it's tough to look at his hands on the neck of this thing.
Yeah.
While this song is playing. That's true of like even the other band, you know, the bass player and the drummer during certain parts of this. It's all over the place.
Yep.
But George really saves the day in this moment. This whole movie's been about Marty saving the day, and this is the first time when he's completely helpless, and his dad actually steps up and saves him.
And I love the way that George reverts back to his old self almost instantly for just a few seconds when the asshole Dixon cuts in.
Yeah.
And he George turns back into old George just for a couple of seconds, and then you can just see the wheels spinning, and he's thinking about all the advice and everything that's just transpired, and he turns around and knocks him down. So
yeah.
And I don't know, did you guys ever see Children of the Corn?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, well, the guy who plays Dixon is his name is Courtney Gaines. He was Malachi. He was the evil little fuck from that movie. That was his first movie actually as an actor. And
when
this
I
wasn't
see that
long
kid,
after
I
that.
immediately think of Malachi, and I think of Christmas Story.
Yeah. Well, he's not. No, that's not him.
Oh, that's not him?
No, that's not him. No.
Oh no.
He's been in a lot of science fiction movies since, you know, as sort of a character actor. But no, I'm upset that I do not remember the actor's name who plays the bully in Christmas Story. But he was actually in a couple of the Transformers movies as one of the soldiers under Josh Duhamel's command in the movie. But
I've got the wrong creepy kid in my head.
Yeah, so the guy who plays the bully in Christmas Story was also in Almost Famous. He was Red Dog, the roadie.
That sounds right. Yeah,
but I can't remember his name. But anyway, yeah. So it was cool. It was cool the way George, like I said, you see the wheel spinning, and he realizes that, you know, no, this is his moment, and there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. He in that moment just totally. It's almost super heroic, his transformation.
Yes.
When he does push him down, and lays the kiss.
Yep.
And it springs Marty back to life, and he's back into Earth Angel like nobody's business, and it's a done deal. But, you know, the band's like, hey, you know, we're sounding pretty good. Like, why don't you stay for one more song? And reluctantly, Marty's like, oh, okay, you know, and we get our Johnny Be Good sequence. Now, this is the scene I was talking about, is so iconic. There are problems with it, and we do that really well on the show as we sort of dig into the problems. One of them is definitely the guitar playing.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if you watch Michael J. Fox, when it's not just a shot of the hands, when you can tell it's him, he is actually playing, you know, that rhythm guitar riff, and he is actually playing.
He's definitely doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he got some coaching there. You can tell that he practiced that, and he does a decent job at it. Things start to go a little haywire once we get into like the soloing and all of that.
Yeah.
But But the other problem with this scene is that everyone is loving the shit out of this song for, I want to say, 95% of it.
Right, right.
Like dancing and fucking skirts are flying up to the extent that Marvin Berry calls his cousin Chuck and is like, hey man, you know that new sound you've been looking for?
Yeah.
Listen to this. Like, it's so good.
Yep.
This is rock and roll. And when Marty decides to take it 80s and take it, sort of metal at the end.
Shredder
and
heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, he starts shredding and he throws the guitar behind his back and
Yeah.
he loses the crowd. Which is also, there's this vibrato at the end there where like his fingers are completely stationary.
I
And
know.
it just hurts to look at it.
And he's bending the wrong strings and.
Yeah. But it's funny. It's funny.
Oh no, it was great. Of course.
But yeah, he loses the crowd and loses everybody. And I mean, to the extent that they're like, what the fuck was that? That was terrible. Like, you guys were dancing your asses off. Give me a break.
Yep.
But
Marty, your music was what did you say, like interesting?
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, very interesting. So he finishes the song and has a nice little farewell moment with his parents, who are now, in love as they should be.
Yep.
Although
we ever
better
gonna
now.
see you again? I guarantee it.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And it gives him a line about like, hey, if you ever have a kid who sets the living room rug on fire
Take
when
it
he's 8
easy
years
on
old, like, yeah, take it easy.
Yeah.
So now we're back in business. Marty's got to get back with Doc and beat this lightning strike, or he's not going to get home. So I'm having another one of these moments.
Well, yeah, they're back at the clock tower. So Doc's waiting for Marty, and Doc's like, "Damn.
That is my
Yeah.
daughter's favorite part of this movie, by the way. My 8-year-old daughter, when he's waiting there and he says, "Damn," and the music cue, it ramps
Yeah.
up, and he goes, "Damn." She loses her shit, man. Like,
That's great.
so now
When
I've
he
got
double
all 3 of
dams
my
it.
kids running around this house going, "Damn."
Damn.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was late because he had to change out of the zoot suit and put his vest back on.
Exactly. Because God
Perfect
forbid he goes
excuse.
back to 1985 at 1:30 in the morning dressed like somebody from 1955.
Yeah, come on, man.
You
He's
know?
17. He's got a reputation to uphold. This is the coolest kid in town.
Exactly.
So they're in front of the clock tower. He's got everything set up. The idea, of course, as we learned in the movie, is according to Doc Brown's calculations, Marty will hit 88 miles an hour at the exact moment that lightning strikes the clock tower, and it will energize the car as it's passing by with this big hook, and that will give him the 1.21 gigawatts of power he needs to turn the flux capacitor on and send it back.
Right. And this goes back to your point about everything's happening for a reason. Because the car stalls, which you on the surface think throws the timing off and now he's screwed. But the car had to stall, because if it didn't stall, he would have hit it too early. And he would
Exactly.
have not gone. Okay? And then to take a step back, there's a real quick moment when Marty tells Doc that George knocked Biff out. And you see the look on Doc's face that he knows things are going to be different
Yeah.
when Marty gets back to his time. Just from that
Yeah, he
comment,
says
you can see.
he's never stood up to him like that before in his life. And
Right.
He's like,
So,
never.
yeah, his eyes sort of go big, so he knows that things are going to be different. But, yeah.
Yep. So that's the plan. And exactly like you said, the car stalls. And that is the really interesting theory, is that the car is actually itself saving the fabric of reality.
Yes.
Just by, and also, but earlier in the episode, you mentioned the note that Marty wrote to Doc to warn him about the Libyans, to take precautions. And of course, the whole movie, Doc is espousing, like, you cannot know about your
Right.
own future. It's dangerous to have information about the future. Whatever's going to happen, I'm going to find out throughout the natural course of time. So he realizes that Marty stuffed that note in his coat pocket and demands to know what the meaning of this is, and
Yeah.
just rips it up because in his mind is too dangerous to have. But there's no time to address it because, it's literally at this point a race against time.
Exactly.
So Marty does get the car to start by banging his head against the steering wheel, which is, that's probably in real life how you get a DeLorean to start.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. You got to do a line off the steering wheel.
Every time you want to start the car, you're like, fuck, I got to do another line. All right.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Back to the future.
Here we go, baby. See if these bastards can do 90. So Marty takes off, and there's so much great tension and build up in this sequence because
I just noted drama.
yeah, so much drama, so much. Oh my god,
Yeah.
because the line that's holding, as he's plugging things in, he yanks on it too hard because a branch fell on the wire and things get disconnected. So it's a whole mess to the extent that Doc's got to climb up there, plug shit back in. It's fuck up after fuck up after fuck up.
Yep.
There's a cool moment where he's up there and slips because the ledge underneath him breaks, and he's hanging on to the second hand of the clock, or the minute hand of the clock.
Yeah.
And it's a callback to that original shot in
Exactly.
the opening. So, of course, everything works out. He realizes that he has to rappel down in order to plug the plug he unplugged back in before the lightning strikes. Does it at the last possible moment. And as the car drives by at the precise time it needs to, it gets shot into 1985.
Right.
Yeah, I ran into a couple of things rewatching this. Like, Doc Brown definitely is still holding onto the wire when he gets struck by lightning.
Oh yeah, he gets
Yeah.
electrocuted, but he's
He's fine. It wasn't even an inconvenience. It's like, oh,
yep.
that
Yeah, I
was a
know.
hot one.
He wasn't even smoking afterwards. It's just he's all good. Everything's fine.
But that basically takes us into the wrap up of the movie here. Marty makes it back, and everything is as he remembers it. It's as shitty and graffiti as when he left. He sees the bum on the bench who there's a hot debate over whether that's actually the mayor from the 50s or not.
Right.
Yep.
I'd like to think that it is. Yeah, he does call him Red, doesn't he?
Yeah, he calls him
Yep.
Red.
And
yeah.
the bench he's laying on, they had to refund the money to California Raisins because they paid for product placement, and then you could barely see it, and it had a bum on it.
That's great.
Like, we're sorry, guys. We're sorry, California Raisins
We
Co.
tried.
But yeah, he and of course, in order to prevent the tragedy, when he's setting up the time circuits to get back, he gave himself an extra 10 minutes so that he could get there in time to, prevent this
Yeah.
tragedy that he wasn't able to even warn Doc about because he ripped up his letter. So, in his infinite 17-year-old wisdom, he decided, I'm in a time machine. I got all the time in the world, and only gives himself 10 minutes.
Yeah, like you could have came back a day before or something.
I know.
Yeah, sure. Oh, a day, a week. Like,
Yeah.
So he's got 10 minutes. Gets back in the car after, doing a little celebratory, here we are, car won't start. Again, this is probably that same mechanism, that theoretical mechanism that we've discussed. If he was able to get there in time and stop the events from unfolding the way they did, it would have created another paradox.
Right. He
Or he
would have
could have
never
run
went
into
back to
himself.
begin with.
Right. And
So.
and there's in this trilogy there are characters that see themselves or meet themselves, which is supposed to be dangerous, but it's always different age, different time versions. It's never, someone who's supposed to
Yeah.
be there meeting someone who's supposed to be there. It would arguably be worse. So he hoofs it back to what is now the Lone Pine Mall, which is a great
Yes.
callback to destroying that pine tree in the beginning of
Yep.
the movie. And he, from a distance, sees Doc Brown getting gunned down again by the Libyans, and sees himself getting to 88 and disappearing. And the Libyans crashed their VW bus into like a photo stand. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's the one from the 70s.
Oh yeah,
show.
that's
Yeah.
no, that's the one from my youth. Is what that is. Real quick
Some sort
story.
of-
It's where you brought your film to be developed. It was a drive-up film developing thing. You would drop your
Okay.
film off, and a week later you'd pick up your pictures. I had a
Remember
crush
the
on a girl
70s
who
show
worked.
when Chong worked there.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
No,
I
I
had a
remember.
crush on a girl who worked at one, and I shot a roll of film like every day for 3 weeks, and then she turned me down when I asked her out. Yep. Anyway, go ahead.
Just like I was gonna say yes until I saw what you were taking pictures of, Doug.
Yeah, that's true. That might have been the problem.
She's like, why are all these pictures of me?
From a distance.
From really far
With
away,
a telephoto
too.
lens. Yeah. So anyway, yes, that was in my town. It was called Photomat. I think it was called Fox Photo or something like that. I don't know if that was a real thing back then or that's what they used for the movie. I don't know, but they existed.
Okay. I mean, that's just slightly before my time. We used to take a film to like the pharmacy to get it
Yeah.
developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so yeah, the Libyans crash into one of those, and I guess instantly die. I don't know. We never.
Well, I
it's
mean, it
never
was a
addressed.
VW bug, and they were tossed around. They weren't wearing seatbelts. So
Would
That's
that be
true.
photo bombing?
End the episode, Joe.
I know. Go out of the
Play the music. Do the thing.
yeah.
That's it.
No, that's
it's
great.
The power of love.
done. Bam, bam.
Back in time.
So Marty's crushed, man, because he's failed to save his friend, and runs over to his body and he's crying, and you get the reveal when Doc Brown sits up, Michael Myers style.
Yeah,
That-
exactly.
He didn't get rid of the letter after all. He's wearing a bulletproof vest
And he got lucky to get shot in the face.
Yeah.
or
And
any
he's lucky-
extremities. Yeah,
That
Right.
somehow those AK-47 bullets didn't penetrate that vest at that range.
Yeah,
correct,
that's true.
correct.
But we'll let it go.
Well, he was an
And-
inventor. You don't know what he had in there, man.
But, I mean, if he had that letter and knew it was going to happen, couldn't he just change the time?
No,
When he was doing
and
it?
there's,
Because then
there's a reason for
it
that.
changes everything. Like
Yeah.
then it never would have happened. It had to happen, or Marty wouldn't have went back. So it had to
He was-
happen just like it did.
Yep, he was absolutely right. He was preserving the chain of events, because if he changed anything, he wouldn't have been warned in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
You know what I'm saying, Joe?
I guess so.
I'm with you.
Doug's with me. So yeah, everything works out in the end. You know, Doc survives. Marty's happy. Gets back home, and home is great, man. Like his
Yeah.
previously unhappy family is fucking killing it. Dave's in a suit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He's not here, man.
Dave's not here, man. His parents look fantastic. They got a healthy glow. His mom looks great. His dad's slapping her on the ass.
right.
They're very in love, and everything is awesome.
He's
And
got
to
a
top it all
4x4.
off, Biv is like a cuck, and he's
Pretty much.
waxing their cars. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But he's still
it's just so
conniving. He's
ideal.
still trying to cheat that second coat of wax.
That's
Yeah.
true. Biff, you motherfucker.
Yeah,
he needs his
right.
own. He needs his own personal Mr. Miyagi.
Yes, exactly.
I also like how they're doing that, like, oh, Biff. Like, oh, yeah, remember that time he tried to rape you once?
Yeah. Really.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Oh, that old Biff.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that's the dynamic now. Everything's awesome. And the cherry on top is that Marty has that sweet 4x4.
right. And
So,
my biggest question in the whole movie is who the fuck parked the truck like that in the garage?
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
you
It's
could
like- I think
you
like
couldn't
all
get it
white
in the
top
garage
tire.
like that or get it out the way it was parked. Who did that?
Probably Biff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like someone put it in and then grabbed the front bumper and moved it over against the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
true, because Biff had just waxed that car.
He
So what
just
if that was
waxed
like
it.
his yeah, what if that was like Biff's fuck you? Like, try to get it out,
His,
you
his
bitch.
passive aggressive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Biff is a prick because who does that? Anyway, go ahead.
And that was what was that? A Hilux, a Toyota Hilux.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, I think it was a
but,
Toyota Hilux.
There's a guy
And
in
it-
Massachusetts who owns that, or he has a replica of that.
Oh, that's cool.
He's
I
a
sent
car
you guys a
restoration
link.
guy with a shit ton of money, and he owns.
I sent you guys a link. The Doc Brown Packard actually sold at an auction recently.
Oh, what did it get?
Oh,
It's like
that's cool.
80,000.
That's cool.
Wow, that's badass.
No,
So
yeah, that,
we're pretty
that
much
back
at
in
the
time-
end.
yeah.
Jennifer.
Well, that's
Jennifer
another cool
shows
thing with
up.
the Back in Time documentary is it shows a guy who actually owns the Part 3 DeLorean. He owns the
Okay.
VW bus,
Damn.
and and the pickup truck. Yeah, it's cool.
The Part 1 DeLorean used to be at Universal Studios. I don't know if they moved it since they
No, it's there.
changed-
They restored it. It was actually
since
it
they
was actually
changed the
dumped
best
in
ride
the-
into The Simpsons.
Yeah, it was dumped in the back lot and in complete disrepair. And some fans got together and worked with Bob Gale, and they restored it. So now it's
Like,
in Universal,
my
but it's
entire
behind
childhood,
glass.
It used to be parked out in like the open, right in front of the Back to the Future ride, right next to the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Joe, that's still there. Only now the car that's there is screen accurate. So like in the 90s,
Yes.
the car that was there, it was a DeLorean, but like all of the shit that was on it was not the right scale. Like the
Right.
Mr. Fusion was too big and stuff.
In the early
so-
2000s, they rebuilt both cars. The original car in Cali at Universal, and then that car. They rebuilt them both.
Have you ever been to George's Music in Orlando, Eric?
Yeah.
They have a DeLorean there too.
Do they still
Oh,
have
really?
it in there?
Oh, that's
it,
cool.
it used to. It was parked in the showroom for a while, but then they started parking out front in the little circle off
Okay.
International Drive.
I remember going in there with my dad and yeah, kind of fawning over that car.
Yeah.
And you know what sucks too, man? Like it's a dream of mine to own that car and build it up with the gadgets and shit.
Yeah.
I almost had one earlier in life, like in my either late teens or early 20s. We found one, and it was in pretty good shape. Like it needed interior work and everything, but it was 10 grand. And
Wow.
at that time, I guess that was, what they were commanding at that time. It would have been like the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot find that car today for like less than 30 grand, no matter what
Yeah.
kind of condition it's in.
Yeah.
I believe
Well,
so.
they're actually building brand new ones now.
Yeah, out of Texas, right?
Place in
Oh,
Texas,
wow.
yeah, is building them brand new.
Yeah. They're
That's
expensive
cool.
as shit, man.
Oh yeah, they're expensive.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But
So,
anyway,
Regarding the end of the movie now, too, another point about them not planning on a sequel is
yes.
Jennifer
Sticking Jennifer in the car.
in the
Yeah.
car. Yeah, that's why they knocked her out in 2, because they didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
So they left her unconscious through the second movie, and that's why.
Yeah, the To Be Continued was added when it came out on home release.
On video, yeah. And it's gone now.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it on Netflix, and it's not there on the Netflix version. So,
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I guess that was the smartest thing to do with Jennifer. It's like, we didn't know we'd have to make
Yeah.
a second movie, so yeah, just make her unconscious.
yeah. Yeah, we're going to knock
Because
her out.
it does create a lot of problems having to place that character now in 2015.
Right, to figure out what to do with her on a
Yeah.
larger scale. They had to do it, yeah. So,
Yep.
It's
Because
interesting.
where we're going, we don't need roads.
yeah.
That's our ending, man, is Doc showing back up with the Mr. Fusion and the crazy outfit and the glasses that you can't
I
see
dressed
out
like
of.
that in 2015. I don't know about you guys.
And the flying DeLorean.
The flying
Yeah.
DeLorean. And another great line, like, when he's convincing him, like, come with me, we gotta go to the future. And,
Oh, they're kids.
yeah, like, what's wrong with us in the future? Do we become assholes?
Yeah.
No, you turned out fine. It's your kids, Marty.
Something's gotta be done about your kids.
Your kids.
What's wrong, Doc? Did we become assholes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great
so
line.
great.
So yeah, that's it, man. That's Back to the
Yep.
Future. Again, just a classic for me. One of my favorites. So when we get to our ratings, my shit's gonna be padded. It's a fair warning. But I hope that you guys enjoyed taking a walk down this one
Yep.
with us.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So Joe, now we're at the point where we shoot our ratings off. I'm gonna save mine for last.
Okay.
Where do you rank Back to the Future?
This movie did play a vital role in my upbringing. I've watched it a lot. Been obsessed with DeLoreans forever. Loved the ride growing up at Universal Studios, which is now for some reason an ungodly Simpsons ride. We already proved once before that it wasn't a good idea to let Dan Castellaneta be any part of Back to the Future with the animated series. So we didn't need him taking over as the Simpsons in place of the awesome ride. I really enjoy all the actors in this movie. I enjoy all of everything that happens, the mostly attention to detail, and I do like your theories upon how, like, you know, the paradoxes can be affecting some of the loopholes. That kind of answered a lot of questions I had. I'm gonna give this movie a solid 4.8.
Ooh, I like it.
I really like this movie.
I think that's your highest score so far.
I think it's just tied with Goodfellas.
Okay, yeah.
Well, for me, it's everything Joe just said. You know, I saw it in the theater, loved it. I can't remember, but we probably went back and saw it 2 or 3 times in the theater. And then when it came out on VHS, we wore that tape out. I mean, you know, so it was a big part of my early adulthood. And it's been a part since. My youngest son, I think I mentioned to you guys in the chat, you know, he got into this when he was 8. He's 21 now, and it's still probably his favorite movie, the whole series. You know, he's worn out his DVDs and now has streamed it quite a few times because he just digs it. It means a lot to him. So I am gonna land exactly where Joe did at a 4.8. I don't know that I can find anything wrong with it, but again, to get to a 5 out of 5 is hard for anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, but it's, I mean, really quick, another piece of trivia that I found that you guys probably found is the fact that at a film school, I don't know what university in California, after this movie came out, this script was taught as a class, and it was called The Perfect Script.
Yep.
Because it is considered that by filmmakers the world over. The script is flawless. There's continuity issues and things that we made fun of, and that happens to the best movies as well as the worst movies. But yeah, 4.8 for me.
It doesn't take away from this movie, though.
No, exactly, it doesn't. It honestly, in most cases, it lends to the comedic value of the scenes. So yeah, it's all good. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's zero wrong with this flick. It's one of my favorites of all time. All right, so lay it on us, Eric.
Oh, I was waiting for your rating.
I said a 4.8. I'm sorry.
He's the same as me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I might have. Yeah, I should have ended, but yeah, a 4.8 definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm lockstep with you guys. Like this movie was such a big deal for me. It sort of like encapsulated my childhood and like what cool was to me. It was like the character Marty McFly in a lot of ways. Even now, like, I still follow these actors and stuff just predicated on how much I love this thing.
Yep.
And, you know, Michael J. Fox and his foundation and the work he does now. And, yeah, it's just, the movie has always meant a lot to me. I've always found it to be one of those things that's, like, immensely watchable. You know, that term gets thrown around a lot with us. Like, oh, if it's on, it's on. Like, I'm not changing the channel. Yep. This is like the king of that for me. I'll stop whatever I'm doing to watch this movie. So yeah, with that said, I got to give this movie, only because as a rule, I think I said I'm not going to give any movie a 5.0. Or if I do, this would be as close to it as I get. I'm going to give it a 4.9 just to stay true to that.
Makes sense.
But it might as well be a 5.0 for me.
Totally get it. I absolutely totally get it. And just a couple of things you brought up about Michael J. Fox's foundation. going back to that Back in Time documentary on Netflix. There's a large part of that huge. There's a large part of that documentary that talks about his foundation and the fans, and the fans of the movie and what they've done to contribute to and help his foundation for Parkinson's. So Eric, you would really enjoy it. It's an hour and a half long. I'm telling you. When you get it, when you get the time, sit down. It's on Netflix. Is it on Netflix? I didn't watch it on Netflix. I watched it on YouTube TV.
I'll find it.
Yeah, but
I've watched it before, but I can't remember where I watched it at.
Yeah, it was on YouTube TV, but or Netflix, whatever. Just find it.
I think it was on Netflix when I watched it originally.
Well worth it. So anyway, I totally respect your rating. It's a flawless movie.
All right, boys. Well, want to tease what we got going next week, or next week after next, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, it is the season.
What is the reason for the season, Joe?
Oh, Doug's brother.
No, I'd say that reason's different for Eric and I, as opposed to some other people. But there is a reason for the season.
Yeah, they're like the Rogers boys, Aaron and Jordan. They don't get along so well. No, it's Christmas. We got to do a Christmas movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what better Christmas movie to do than Christmas Vacation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's favorite try-hard dad, who I relate to in a way that I didn't always before. Like, I really feel what Clark is trying to accomplish in this movie.
It's all about his family.
Yeah. So, next episode we'll dig into Christmas Vacation, hopefully with a special guest. We'll see how that goes. There's a chance that previous guest Tony Monget will be joining us. We will try very hard to make that happen.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time. You guys anything to plug?
I'm tired of it. It wasn't a good Black Friday. I talked to Joe about it. So, 37 Effects. You want a fuzz pedal, come see me.
Oh, no.
I told him I gave up on Black Friday sales for some reason.
I got my ass
kicked. If I don't try to sell stuff, I get sales. But if I try to sell something, I won't sell nothing.
I got my ass kicked so bad on it. I can't give these things away.
You just got to stay with it, man. Stay with it.
Oh, no, I'm not giving up, dude. I'm already working on the next one. So
I know Eric's killing it artwork-wise.
Oh, hell yeah.
This season is this time of year is good for my art business.
Yep.
But it's also a double-edged sword, man, because anytime you do something creative as a way to make money, you have to be real careful about how you treat that so that you don't suck the joy out of it.
Yes.
That old saying,
100%.
like, when it becomes a job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that Eric is making something special for my other podcast.
Yes.
Just surprised me.
So on my list of commissions is something that Joe commissioned for JSM.
I cannot wait to see it.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
For all the wrong and right reasons.
With especially RJ, can you make him as emo as possible? Like, I want him to have like where the hair comes down like over his face on one side, and then the other side like kind of flock of seagulls up with black hair and black eyeliner.
So, listen, I haven't started on this piece yet because I'm bogged down.
Oh no, there's no
rush. I've literally
rush.
had dreams about this piece.
There's no rush at all in this. I just want it to be as awesome as possible, since I know they hate that band so much that it will make my heart so happy.
Exactly, Eric.
No,
if
you
need
have no idea.
Doug has to be like in the music video with the full like picnic table like suit on.
If you need a model
I'm
for
serious.
RJ, you need to look at Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street when he's in high school.
Oh no!
There's also a picture you can look called Gothopotamus.
Oh my god!
That's great.
That's rough, man. No, I shit you not. I've had dreams about this because I love how much RJ hates emo, and I can't. I've had these visions in my sleep, like exactly like you described, like one eye's covered by hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got the flock of seagulls spiky thing going on
with the black eyeliner.
Black eyeliner. There's a lip ring. I mean, it's just I can't.
And the shirt should be something like an all black shirt with something like "I hate myself and I and I love that I hate myself. Some stupid
yeah,
like
something.
emo, just as emo as it can possibly be.
Oh my god, yes, 100 times yes. So yeah, as soon as I get cracking on that one, I'm gonna start sending you little samples because it's gonna be really really fun.
Yeah,
But,
there's no rush on that one at all. Take it all the time you need on it. I'm
Oh yeah,
so ready to shove it in their face.
I just gotta survive Christmas, man. That's all it is.
I'm making T-shirts with that and stickers and everything because it's gonna be so amazing.
Absolutely.
Taking Back Thursdays, or Taking Back Thursday, I guess.
Back Thursday.
Because the show comes out on Thursdays, so like I probably should call it Taking Back Thursday versus Taking Back Friday.
Yeah.
I just saw the picture. Yep, that's it. That's exactly it.
Yep, that's what you want.
That's perfect. So yeah, as far as plugs go, I'm booked up for the holidays, but I have a lot of, if you're into nerd shit or comic books or horror or 80s or any of that, I have a lot of artwork that's already done. And if you'd like to buy a print of that, just hit me up. I'll give you the hookup on price, send you something cool that you can frame up in your man cave or what have you. So it's artofericpabone.com.
I just bought one of the Masters of the Cinematic Universe shirts yesterday from your Threadless.
Oh, well, that's thank you. First of all, thank you, because I see like $1.50 or so out of every one of those sales. So,
Yep.
but
I got myself 2 Just Surprise Me shirts and the MOTCU one yesterday.
Nice, man. Well, you
Cool.
should have that shirt. It's got your face on it, man. That's
And I was thinking, I should probably buy this. And plus, right now, Threadless is having a sweet sale. All regular shirts are $12, and even like the Tri-Blend, the nice ones are only $15.
That's true,
Wow.
man. Yeah,
All
if
right.
you go to
As soon as we're done, I'm on there.
Nice. artofericpabone.threadless.com. I have a ton of shirts up. I have collections too. I work with if you're Florida or
I want
Central
to
Florida.
buy all your Tom and Dan shirts. You don't even understand. I almost yesterday pulled the trigger on like 10 shirts.
Oh, nice, man. Yeah, I have a kind of a thing set up with Tom and Dan where I do like these limited release on my shop now. So if you need Tom and Dan gear, also have stuff with Big Tim Murphy. He's a local comedian.
We got to get Big Tim on the show.
Absolutely, man. He's hilarious.
Also, I want a Tales from the Grift shirt so bad. That's the one I want to buy. Tales from the Grift is the best.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, so just look for that stuff if any of that piques your interest, and yeah, that's all I got.
Doug, Big Tim is the coolest fucking person on earth.
All right, get him on.
I mean, I wish you knew more about him right now, just so I could tell you how awesome he is. He is the coolest fucking person there is.
Oh yeah, I love that guy, man.
I still want the art of Big Tim as the wood that's sitting on a bed.
That's right. I'll have to talk to him about that. Yeah, he has these. Anything you see on my shop that's Big Tim, I want to say it came from his brain, or he just reached out to me and said "Hey baby, can you draw me as Jesus? Giving support to a Walmart worker going on strike or something." I'm like, yeah, we can do that.
So, just paint a picture for Doug. Doug, imagine ginger curly hair.
Uh-huh.
Wears nothing but overalls with nothing else underneath them, just overalls with no
Oh,
t-shirt.
jeez.
Nothing. And the ladies love Big Tim.
Oh yeah. No, he's one of the most generous, just